Chapter 2140. It's followed by Zhao Xiong's roar full of pain, anger, and unwillingness. No, my Dantian! Again and again, she fights for her life, attacks without regard for her own injuries, and tears the wound precisely again and again. Finally, Mu Yan's Qiju's sword pierces Zhao Xiong's Dantian. Zhao Xiong's eyes bulge, looking at the girl with a lazy and cold smile in front of him. He only feels that the blood in his whole body is ice cold. Is this the Lord of 6 Stars, the successor of the King of Medicine, Yi Liangqin? So terrible! Her toughness, her innate talent, her swordsmanship, her innate talent, they were all too terrifying. Is he, Zhao Xiong, going to die in the hands of such a little girl, a Jindan stage cultivator? The unwillingness in Zhao Xiong's eyes distorts into madness. No, I won't die in the hands of a Jindan stage cultivator. Even if I die, I must bury you with me. Ha ha ha, Yi Liangqin, go to hell with me? As soon as the voice falls, Zhao Xiong suddenly picks up the soul-robbing sword and pierces his Dantian, which has been injured by Mu Yan. The next moment, a strong suction comes from the soul-robbing sword. The remaining spiritual power in Zhao Xiong's Dantian rushes towards the soul-robbing sword. Even Mu Yin feels that her spiritual power is restless, as if it wants to rush out along with the Qijua sword that pierces Zhao Xiong's abdomen. Mu Yan's heart shudders. She resolutely withstands the pain in her body and quickly retreats. When she stands still and looks at Zhao Xiong, she is immediately shocked. She sees that Zhao Xiong's body, which was a little round and fat just a moment ago, is actually only skin and bones in a flash. From his open mouth, there is a painful gasp. 2 bloodshot eyes look like they were about to pop out of their sockets. But after a few breaths, a large amount of black gas suddenly rushes out of the soul-robbing sword and wraps Zhao Xiong, who is like a mummy. The black gas slowly dissipates, leaving a face that is uglier than a malicious ghost, and crimson eyes without reason, only the desire to kill. Yi Liangqin, your time of death has come. Mu Yan's pupils shrink, and she slowly says, Demonic cultivator. Niangqin, you promised Xiaobao that you wouldn't die. Niangqin, you're lying. Junmai and scoundrel, let me out. Junmai, I'm begging you, you'll die if you go on like this. Mother, Xiaobao is scared. Don't abandon Xiaobao. Mu Yan shakes her head, forcing her thoughts to focus. The hand holding the 7 Absolutes sword was stained with blood. It was cold as if it no longer belonged to him. Zhao Xiong, who had already turned into a demon, soared into the sky, playing with her like a cat playing with a mouse, torturing her while letting out ear-piercing laughter from time to time. However, apart from being carefree, this laughter was also filled with a deep-rooted resentment. Yi Liangqin, it's all because of you that I have to expose my identity as a fallen evil, and I can never turn back. Kong Yuanjiu will be here soon. From now on, I will be like a street rat with no place to hide. All of this is because of you, you bitch. I'm going to torture you to death bit by bit. Then, I'm going to break every bone in your son's body. I'm going to swallow his flesh. Ha ha! Just wait for the little bastard to meet you in hell. Swallow his flesh and blood one mouthful at a time. Zhao Xiong's voice is like a hammer, hitting Mu Yan's mind fiercely. Chapter 2141. Xiao Bao's cries echoed in his ears. His eyes, which had already lost focus, gradually gathered a light that was even more dazzling than the scorching sun. In the Tian Mo Qin space, the dragon abyss sword that Luo Yunxiao gave her makes a buzzing sound. In the sky, countless spiritual powers seem to have been summoned by something, surging towards Mayan. A multicolored light flashes from Mayan's body. Vaguely, a huge bright moon appeared behind her. Zhao Xiong was bewildered. What was going on? What was Yap doing? Soon, Zhao Xiong knew what the person opposite him was doing. She was advancing. That's right, the girl who was originally at the first level of the Golden Core Realm was now climbing towards the second level of the Golden Core Realm. After figuring out what had happened, Zhao Xiong immediately sneered. Did he think that by advancing to the second stage of Jindan, he would be able to escape from his evil clutches? What a joke! However, what happened next made Zhao Xiong speechless. After reaching the second stage of Golden Core, the advancement did not stop. Third stage core formation, fourth stage, fifth stage, ninth stage, peak stage. In the blink of an eye, this girl, who was less than 20 years old, actually advanced from the early stage of Gold Core to the peak of Gold Core? How is this possible? With the advancement of her realm, minds originally dried up Dantian, and her limbs and bones are once again filled with vigorous spiritual power. His stiff and cold body seemed to have been injected with vitality. Even the injuries on his body were no longer important at this moment. Zhao Xiong came back to his senses after a long while. He gritted his teeth and said, "Peak of Jindan? Yi Liangchen, do you really think that you could be my opponent just because you have reached the peak of the Gold Core realm? In my eyes, the peak of the Gold Core realm is the same as the beginner level of the Gold Core realm. They are just ants that I can trample to death at any time." Under the moonlight, the young girl raised her pale lips. The smile on her blood-stained face was faint, but it was as if she was a king overlooking all living things. Whether it's the same or not, we'll know once we try. Xiuxian continent. Di Mingju fiercely wrinkles his brows, looking at Xing Lang with a gaze that seems like he wants to skin him alive. Star Wolf's entire body trembled, but he still stubbornly refused to budge. He wanted to stay by Junshang's side. Even if he died, he wanted to be Junshang's most loyal dead dog. In fact, Xing Lang didn't stay by Mu Yan's side all this time. Instead, he hid in his mustard seed space to cultivate. Xing Lang was really afraid of Mayan and Xiaobao's torment. He didn't want to resist Xiaobao, so he only left a small spell beside Mayan and Xiaobao. If they encountered danger that they couldn't solve, he could teleport over. However, while communicating with Han Yi through the Qingquan mirror, the Star Wolf accidentally learns that Di Mingju has unexpectedly gone alone to the haunted Lingxi Valley. Star Wolf was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. How could their polar domain's supreme and most honorable monarch, the only monarch he had ever revered and followed in his life, take such a risk? The Star Wolf curses loudly. Han Yi, Ingmei, you two bastards, trash, traitors, you actually didn't follow Jun up. Finished speaking, he didn't wait for the two of them to react. Disregarding the possible impact on his divine soul, he returned to the polar domain through the universe mirror. That was why the three of them came together. In the back mountain of Spirit Rhino Valley, the irritated howls of the poltergeist ghosts could be heard. Di Mingju can only withdraw his thoughts of punishing the Star Wolf. The poltergeist ghost that he had just killed was about to revive. Another wave of poltergeist ghosts is also about to surge out from the barrier. The change in energy fluctuations made these poltergeist ghosts riot. Chapter 2142. He Qiming's eyes revealed anxiety and panic as he said with a sheepish smile, "Imperial Lord, if we let this batch of poltergeist ghosts revive, another wave will surge out of the barrier. It will be even harder to exterminate all these poltergeist ghosts. Why don't we take advantage of the fact that the number of poltergeist ghosts has decreased and charge in together? We can't really let the Spirit Rhinoceros Valley and the surrounding towns be completely destroyed, right?" Han Yi sneers. "Charge in together? Valley Master He, are you planning to take the lead in charge at the forefront?" He Qiming's expression stiffened, fear causing the muscles on his face to tremble. He stuttered, "This subordinate's cultivation is low. How could I have killed so many poltergeist ghosts? Spirit Rhino Valley has already decided to pledge allegiance to the polar domain. Then naturally we will rely on Monarch." Han Yi looks at him mockingly, his gaze sweeping over everyone. Does the Spirit Rhinoceros Valley really want to return to the polar domain? This is the wish of our loyalty. As long as we can return to the polar domain, it doesn't matter even if we have to work like cattle and horses. If Spirit Rhino Valley cannot return to the polar domain, I am willing to withdraw from Spirit Rhino Valley. Resolute voices rose and fell from the surroundings. Some of them even shouted out loud, "I'm willing to serve the Emperor as my master for the rest of my life. If I betray you, I will be consigned to eternal damnation." In fact, the Spirit Rhinoceros Valley originally belonged to the polar domain. In their hearts, there was only Di Mingju, this king. The people of the Shoshin continent had a long lifespan, so how could they forget something that happened more than 10 years ago? Now that they are in danger, Di Mingju has come to their rescue. This makes them even more excited, unable to control themselves. Han Yi snorts coldly in his heart, inwardly saying, "At least you guys have a bit of conscience." However, on the surface, he said coldly, "The Spirit Rhinoceros Valley can return to the polar domain, but others can return to the polar domain, but He Qiming definitely cannot." He Qiming was dumbfounded. What do you mean? Am I the Valley Lord of the Spirit Rhino's Valley? He Qiming, do you take us for fools? When Xing Lang faces Di Mingju, he's trembling with fear and can't even speak properly. But when it comes to other people, his fighting power immediately goes off the charts. Back then, in order to curry favor with your new master, how many bad things did you say about Di Jun behind his back? Now that your new master has abandoned you, you want to return to the polar domain? Keep on dreaming. Either the Spirit Rhino's Valley changes its Valley Master, or the entire Spirit Rhino's Valley scram from our polar domain. After the poltergeist ghosts are expelled, we will take back all of this territory. He Qiming was so angry that his entire body was trembling. You must be joking. Spirit Rhino Valley is my family's. Before he could finish his words, the people from the Spirit Rhino Valley had already shouted without hesitation. Change the Valley Master. Change the Valley Lord. The calamity of the poltergeist ghost this time was caused by this He Qiming. He is not fit to be our Spirit Rhino Valley's Valley Master. Change Valley Master and return to the polar domain. He Qiming was about to go crazy, because in the entire Spirit Rhino Valley, there was not a single person who supported him. In fact, after that, everyone began to make arrangements on how to exterminate the poltergeist ghosts and how to seal the spirit formation. No one bothered with him anymore. With the addition of Ing Mei and the other two, as well as the unity of the people from Spirit Rhinoceros Valley, coupled with Di Mingju's incomparably tyrannical and unstoppable fighting strength, the hundreds of thousands of poltergeist ghosts in the back mountain were actually almost completely wiped out in a short period of time. Di Mingju stands in front of the barrier, the divine power in his body surging. Little by little, his divine sense wrapped around the broken enchantment barrier. The weakening of the barrier every few years was impossible to repair. However, the barrier of the Spirit Rhino Valley was clearly damaged by someone. Chapter 2143. Therefore, it was possible to repair the barrier by manipulating the divine power with a powerful divine will. However, this kind of restoration was also very taxing on the mind, and it could not be disturbed in any way. In a corner of the Spirit Rhino Valley, He Qiming carefully observed his surroundings. Seeing that there was no one around, he anxiously took out a small black porcelain bottle. When He Qiming opened the porcelain bottle, there was a trace of hesitation on his face. Back then, he had only used a tiny drop of it to create a huge hole in the barrier. Spirit Rhino Valley was almost completely wiped out, becoming food for the poltergeist ghosts. Now, there were 10 times more in this porcelain bottle than before. If he really opened it, He Qiming looked conflicted, but it was soon replaced by resentment and unwillingness. Polar domain. Di Mingju, since you won't give me a way out, then don't think that you'll have a good day either. Since the Spirit Rhino Valley no longer belongs to me, then all of you can go and die. Thinking of this, He Qiming no longer hesitated and opened the small porcelain bottle. Almost as soon as the lid was opened, a ball of red liquid rushed toward the barrier like a living creature. He Qiming's eyes shone. Eat, eat, eat. This is the best fodder for you beasts. After eating this fodder, you will become even more powerful. I want to let those people from the polar domain know the consequences of offending me. He Qiming. It wasn't that he didn't know that the person who gave him the feed had ill intentions and was just using him as cannon fodder to die. Before this, he had been very cautious when using it. But now, his hatred towards the polar domain and Spirit Rhino Valley surpassed everything. However, in the next moment, He Qiming saw the barrier in front of him tremble violently. One ghost face after another protruded from the barrier, only to be pulled back by a powerful force. Chiming's eyes were filled with terror as he turned around to run. However, he had only flown a few meters away when he heard countless roars. Ah! The shrill scream came to an abrupt end. In the blink of an eye, all that was left was a tattered skeleton covered in minced meat lying on the ground. Countless poltergeist ghosts swarmed in the direction of the aura of the living. What's going on? Why are there suddenly so many vampires? Ah! Help me, help me! Ah! Report to the Emperor. Report to the Emperor. The people from the Spirit Rhino Valley, who had originally been clearing the poltergeist ghosts in the outskirts, had never expected that so many poltergeist ghosts would suddenly surge out from the back mountain that had already been mostly cleared. Moreover, the strength of these venomous ghosts was completely beyond their imagination. After being bitten by the poltergeist ghosts, someone took the Heaven Spirit detoxification pill, only to discover that it was completely useless. This time, everyone panicked. Even Han Ye's and Xing Lang's complexions changed. The trio galloped to Di Mingju's side, anxiously saying, "Di Jun, the situation has changed greatly. A lot of poltergeists suddenly appeared. Let's evacuate first and then think of a way, okay?" No one knows better than Di Mingju, who was in the middle of mending the enchantment. Hearing his subordinates urging him to leave, as well as the people from the Spirit Rhinoceros Valley rushing over in a daze. From start to finish, Di Mingju's expression is cold and indifferent. "What are you panicking about? Pajun, go stabilize the formation." Pajun, who has never disobeyed Di Mingju's orders, shows a hesitant expression for the first time. He knew that Jun Shang wanted him to stabilize the formation in the valley, to prevent any of the vampires from escaping. Chapter 2144. But Jun Shang is currently stabilizing the barrier and has no fighting power. How can he leave Di Jun's side? But this thought is only for a moment, and in the end, obedience prevails. Yes, Jun Shang. Almost as soon as defeating armies rushes out, the poltergeist ghosts rush in from all directions. Han Yi and the others see that Di Mingju refuses to leave, so they can only settle their minds and form an array to kill the poltergeist ghosts. The array is centered around Han Yi, Yingmei, and Xing Lang, and supported by the people of Spirit Rhinoceros Valley, exerting a formidable power. The poltergeist ghosts are killed wave after wave. But the poltergeist ghosts can be reborn, and there's no way to kill them all. Slowly, some people's immortal force is exhausted, and they're on the verge of collapse, unable to hold on. But the poltergeist ghosts are increasing in number. Just as everyone is in despair, there's a sudden blur, and a figure appears in front of them. A weapon that looks like a knife, but isn't a knife, like a sword, but isn't a sword, is lightly waved in the air. Roar! The poltergeist ghosts roar in horror, and a large number of them disappear at once. Everyone is dumbfounded. They look at Di Mingju, who's repairing the barrier, and then at the godlike Di Jun floating in the air. Each and every one of them is dumbfounded. Even Han Yi and the others reveal expressions of shock and worship. So strong. Too strong. Many immortals in the Xiaoxing continent can split their primordial spirit avatars. But the primordial spirit avatars usually only have 1/10 of the main body strength. Not to mention, repairing the barrier and the primordial spirit avatars consume the immortal body. And Di Mingju? He did it at the same time. Moreover, even his avatar is so powerful that it can crush all of them. With Di Mingju's help, everyone's spirits are greatly boosted. The barrier is gradually repaired, and the number of poltergeist ghosts is also slowly decreasing because they can't keep up with the rebirth. Everyone's eyes reveal the excitement of seeing the dawn. However, at this time, Di Mingju's palm emits a scorching heat that could burn his soul. At the same time, something bursts in the depths of Xing Lang's sea of consciousness, sending out a tremor like an alarm. Di Mingju's handsome face that wouldn't change even if empty Tai collapsed in front of him, revealing a horrified expression. Star Wolf's face instantly turned ghastly pale, and his body was on the verge of collapse. He tried his best to support himself, yet he was unable to maintain the surging fear and regret in his heart. Both Di Mingju and Xinglang know what that means. Junmayan is in danger. The future mistress of the polar domain and the future successor of the polar domain had encountered a life and death crisis. Roar! The poltergeist ghost that had been passively beaten finally found an opportunity. 3 of them pounced towards the Star Wolf. Han Yi and Ning Mei promptly blocked 2 of them, but there's still one that rushes straight to the Star Wolf's body and ruthlessly bites down on his neck, tearing off a piece of flesh. However, Han Yi and Ning Mei have no time to attend to the Star Wolf at this time. Because of this unforeseen event, several poltergeist ghosts break free from the shackles of the array and rush towards Di Mingju's main body, who is standing next to the enchantment. Jun Shang. The 3 of them let out mournful howls, throwing caution to the wind as they throw themselves in front of Di Mingju. At this moment, they couldn't care less about how terrifying the poltergeist ghost was, what would happen to them if they were bitten by the poltergeist ghost, or how to activate their immortal power to protect themselves. The only thought in his mind was to protect the God Monarch. Even if he had to die, he had to protect the God Monarch. However, the expected pain of his flesh being torn apart did not come. The 3 of them raised their heads in a daze, only to see a tall figure standing in front of them, protecting them firmly behind him. Chapter 2145. He thought back to all these years. This person was clearly a high and mighty emperor, but he always protected them, pampered them, and never let them suffer the slightest harm or grievance. Jun Shang. The always cold Ing Mei let out a cry. Jun Shang, you're injured. They see that Di Mingju's right hand is holding a sword to protect them, while his left hand is maintaining the restoration enchantment, unable to budge. One of the poltergeist ghosts tore off a piece of his flesh. Bastards, you dare to hurt the Emperor? I'll kill you. I'll kill you all. Star Wolf was simply insane. He did not care that using immortal energy might cause the poison to spread. He crazily swung his blade at the poltergeist ghost. However, just by looking at his face, one could see that his face was covered in tears. Endless regret gnawed at his heart like a poisonous snake. Why did he leave Miss June? Why did he leave Little Master? If he hadn't left, Jun Shang wouldn't have been distracted at all, and he wouldn't have been bitten by a venomous ghost to protect them. Star Wolf was a sinner, an unforgivable sinner. This batch of starved ghosts seemed to be different from the previous ones. The poison in their teeth could not be cured with the Heaven Spirit detoxification pill. Moreover, it seems to have gained a bit of spiritual wisdom. After injuring Di Mingju, it immediately lets out shouts of joy. The vampires who died last time had been resurrected. More and more malevolent ghost faces, the rotting stench of death, surrounded the despairing spirit Rhino Valley people. Di Mingju slowly withdraws his divine sense from the barrier. He had originally wanted to repair it completely to prevent any future problems, but now it seemed that it was still too difficult. He gently squeezed his burning left hand that was hanging by his side. For a moment, he felt as if something was tugging at his heart. It made him want to rush to the cultivation continent to protect his wife and child. Divine power was already surging in his body. But at this moment, the young girl's clear and melodious voice once again resounded in his mind. I'm not a daughter flower that attaches itself to you. Even if I die with you, it's impossible for you to stay by my side and protect me at all times. Di Mingju, trust me a little more. I'm the wife you've chosen, the woman who's going to stand by His Majesty's side. Di Mingju suddenly closes his eyes, then slowly opens them again. The burning passion and anxiety in his heart slowly cooled down, turning into a deep-rooted gentleness and deep affection. From the moment the two had pledged their love until now, Mayan had been working hard to verify the words she had said. His wife was so outstanding and powerful. How could he fall behind her? He is the man who wants to stand by Jun Mayan's side. Wave after wave of ghouls surged forward, bringing with them a bloodthirsty and tyrannical desire to kill and devour. The people of Spirit Rhinoceros Valley, including Ying Mei and Han Yi, have all sunk into despair. Just at this moment, a ray of light suddenly shone from the back mountains of the Spirit Rhino Valley. Everyone was taken aback and looked up in unison. The swarming and roaring poltergeist ghosts also seemed to be shocked by something, and all of their movements suddenly froze. In the next moment, the entire valley, the barrier, and even the celestial chi in the entire cultivation continent began to fluctuate violently as if they were swept up by a gust of wind. In the back mountain of the Spirit Rhino Valley, everyone's eyes were wide open as they stared at the figure in the sky, their faces filled with shock, unable to make a single sound. In the sky, a blood-red sun slowly rose into the sky. Wherever the multicolored light went, it was as if the king had arrived. All things submit. All living beings bow their heads. Under the illumination of the rising sun, the poltergeist ghosts that were still fiendish just a moment ago seemed like they were about to be melted, letting out mournful howls. Chapter 2146 Nether Realm Immortal Emperor Level. This is the divine sense and pressure of an immortal emperor. Nether Region Master In Wuji let out a roar of disbelief. How is this possible? This can't be Di Mingju. It can't be Di Mingju. At the bottom of the demon realm's hidden abyss, glorious sun swallows the heavens, leave fire 9 luminaries. Demon Lord, I didn't expect that the cultivation of this polar domain's sovereign lord has actually reached such a powerful level. The voice of the demon race's elder even trembled slightly because of jealousy and shock. She couldn't help but look at the man in front of her and sighed. Such an outstanding man. It's a pity that he rejected the marriage alliance with my demon race. Otherwise, he hasn't finished speaking when he sees the man in front of him slowly turn around, speaking in a voice that is neither light nor heavy. You're saying that my Jun Shirtian's daughter isn't worthy of Di Mingju? No. This elder of the demon race shakes his head again and again in fright, his voice trembling even more than when he marveled at Di Mingju's strength. Honored demon, your daughter is naturally the most outstanding in the world. The polar domain's sovereign emperor had eyes, but failed to see. He will definitely regret it in the future. Humph! The devilish elder heaved a long sigh of relief as the man harumphed coldly before disappearing, then gently shook his head. He didn't know whether the daughter of the honor demon was beautiful or ugly, or whether she was dead or alive. If he were the polar domain's sovereign emperor, he wouldn't be willing either. Didn't they see that In Wuji of the Nether Realm couldn't bear to part with his precious son and pushed out a shield to be the future husband of their demon race princess? Cultivation Continent, Dragon Soaring Academy. When he heard Luo Yu's message, he looked at the dying Chu Tianyu and Murong Shui. Zhou Daoi was so frightened that he almost fell to the ground. Even Sun Yuanjiu was scared out of his wits. What did you say? Miss June is fighting against a leaving body cultivator all by herself? Heavens! She was the Emperor's fiancée, the future mistress of the polar domain. If anything were to happen to Long Tongue, Kong Yuanjiu felt his vision darken, and he wished he could pass out immediately. But at this moment, he had no time to be shocked. Before Luo Yu could even reply, Xiaoqin had already turned into a meteor, flying in the direction of the back mountains of the Soaring Dragon sect. Along the way, Kong Yuanjiu was burning with anxiety. He kept imagining what kind of scene he would see in the back of the mountain. Would mind be abused by an astral projection cultivator, or even killed? If she really died, how furious would the Emperor be? Even if he, Kong Yuanjiu, died to atone for his sins, he still wouldn't be able to pay for it. I hope Miss June could buy a little more time. That's right. Miss June was smart, and the only Lord of 6 stars. She would definitely be able to buy him enough time to get there. If she didn't have such confidence, she probably wouldn't have stayed behind alone. Kong Yuanjiu had made all sorts of preparations in his heart. He felt that no matter what kind of situation he encountered, he would be able to deal with it calmly. However, when he arrived at his destination and saw the scene in front of him, he felt that the construction he had just done was all for naught. Kong Yuanjiu was dumbfounded as he stared at the scene in front of him. Under the moonlight, the girl whose white clothes had been dyed bright red slowly raised her head. Her clear and bright peach blossom eyes met his eyes. Sun Yuanjiu shuddered. Then his gaze shifted stiffly downwards, and finally landed on her left hand. There was a head in his hand. Chapter 2147. Blood was dripping from the bottom of the skull. Not far away, on the grassland riddled with holes, lay a headless body. This scene was so shocking. As long as one wasn't an idiot, they would be able to tell that this girl had killed someone. But the problem was the devil chi and spiritual energy fluctuations on the person lying on the ground had yet to dissipate. He was clearly a leaving aperture realm cultivator. Furthermore, he was a leaving aperture realm cultivator who had fallen into the demonic path. And the person holding the head in front of him was just a golden core stage young girl. When Sun Yuanjiu landed on the ground, his legs felt weak, as if he was stepping on something solid. On the contrary, it was Mu Yin who spoke first. Dean Kong, many thanks for coming to our rescue. I'm guessing that Zhao Xiong's accomplices will be summoned soon. I'll need Dean Kong's help in the following matters. Kong Yuanjiu opens his mouth. With great difficulty, he opens his mouth, but it's not to answer Mayan's question. Miss June, this person was killed by you? Mayan nods. How did you kill him? Kong Yuanjiu originally wanted to blurt out, how is this possible? But when it reached his mouth, he changed it with great difficulty. Mu Yin pondered for a moment. First shatter his dantian, then explode his heart, then cut off his head, and kill him just like that. What the fuck, he was killed just like that. Why did you say it as if you had killed an ant in the gold core stage? That was a leaving aperture realm cultivator. Leaving aperture stage. Mu Yin. Dean Kong? Kong Yuanjiu finally calmed himself down and came back to his senses. At this time, he could already feel the rage and turbulent spiritual energy fluctuations from afar, and his face turned cold. Miss June, please leave this place immediately. I'll handle the rest. Mu Yin slightly frowns, as if she wants to say something. Right at this moment, Zhou Daoi also hurried over. Upon learning that it was Mu Yin who killed a leaving aperture realm cultivator, he was so shocked that his eyeballs nearly popped out of their sockets. But both of them advised Mayan to go back first. Kong Yuanjiu said anxiously, the one who came might be the Marquis of Dingwa, Chu Xinyan. Miss June, please leave this place first. No matter what, he must not let Chu Xinyan know that June Mayan is Yi Liangchen. Zhao Xiong was killed by the two of them. As for Chu Xinyan's side, the rest would be handled by them. Miss June? Mu Yin purses her lips and finally nods lightly. Only now does Kong Yuanjiu realize that because the night is hazy, he didn't see that Mayan's complexion is abnormally pale. Even his lips were stained with blood. His lips were pale, as though he was on the verge of death. Miss June, are you all right? As soon as Sun Yuanjiu finished speaking, a figure descended from the sky like a bolt of lightning and landed in front of them. Kong Yuanjiu and Zhou Daoi were shocked. Who is it? Could it be that Chu Xinyan had arrived so quickly? On the contrary, when Mu Yin sees the person who has come, her body, which has already reached its limit, sways and heavily falls forward. Mu Yin! In a flash, a figure appeared in front of her and scooped her into his arms. At the same time, another figure also rushed over on a flying sword. As soon as she sees Mayan covered in blood being held in someone's arms, she exclaims, Junior sister, what happened to you? Mayan opens her heavy eyelids and sees two familiar figures swaying in front of her. Her tense heart finally settles down. Senior brother, junior uncle, it's really good to have you two here. Chapter 2148. Mu Yin knows that she has too many secrets on her body. Shin musician, Qi Huang, the fat rabbit, all of these can't be exposed. Most importantly, there's still her Xiao Bao. Once she dies, everything in the space, the secret of the Tian and Mo Qin, everything will be exposed. How can she allow it? In the battle with Zhao Xiong just now, Mu Yin really exhausted the last trace of her divine sense and spiritual power. At this moment, she's weaker than a 5-year-old child. Anyone, as long as they covet her secrets, want to rob them, want to kill them, she won't even have the slightest power to resist. And at this moment where she doesn't have the slightest power to protect herself, apart from Di Mingju and Xiao Bao, the only one she can trust are these close relatives. Her fellow apprentices, her younger martial uncle, her nether flame army. Amidst Luo Yunxiao's sudden tightening embrace and Yun Ruhan's anxious shouts, Mu Yin falls into a deep coma. This time, Mu Yin is unconscious for 10 days and 10 nights before she wakes up. As soon as she opens her eyes, she sees Xiao Bao curled up beside her like a wounded cub. His eyes are closed, his long eyelashes lightly trembling with drops of water on them. Even if he's asleep, his little hands are still tightly clutching the hem of her clothes. Mu Yan's heart suddenly clenches. It's so painful that she can hardly breathe. This kind of sleeping posture, this kind of uneasy appearance, has not appeared on Xiao Bao for a long time. In the past, when the two of them were in the cave, Xiao Bao felt insecure like this. Unless he's next to her, leaning against her, he would curl up into a ball, trembling incessantly. Mu Yin lovingly picks him up and gently kisses his wet eyelashes. The long, butterfly-like eyelashes flutter a few times, slowly lifting up, revealing a pair of beautiful eyes like blue glass beads. Xiao Bao, I'm sorry Niangqin made you worry. Xiao Bao stares at Mu Yin in a daze, suddenly flattening his lips. He doesn't make the slightest sound, but tears roll down with pitter-patter. The hand clutching Mu Yan's clothes doesn't loosen, but trembles fiercely. This kind of silent crying, this kind of appearance of being infinitely wronged, yet enduring and unwilling to vent, makes Mine's heart clench into a ball. She hugged Xiao Bao tightly in her arms and said in a hoarse voice, Xiao Bao, don't cry. It's Mother's fault. Mother will apologize to you, okay? Mother is very good. Mother is the best. Xiao Bao sobbed. Mother defeated the bad guy. Mother didn't abandon Xiao Bao. But Mother, Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao was really scared. At that time, Xiao Bao really thought Mother was going to abandon Xiao Bao. I won't. Mu Yin wipes away the tears on his face and softly says, to Niangqin, Xiao Bao is the most important and most treasured treasure. How could Niangqin be willing to abandon you? Xiao Bao burrowed into her bosom and hugged her tightly. He didn't say anything, and only after a long time did he gently nod. However, those pair of ice-blue eyes were burning with a scorching light. The one in the wrong isn't Niangqin but Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao was too weak, so he couldn't help his mother, and even became a burden to her. In Xiao Bao's mind, the words that Di Mingju once said to him in private, making him make a choice. At that time, he chose to refuse without hesitation. But now, he wants to see his father as soon as possible. He wants to tell him that he has changed his mind. After crying for a while, Xiao Bao returns to normal. Baidu searched the UC Book League website, letting you experience the latest and fastest chapters, all of which are updated in seconds. Chapter 2149. Mu Yin checks her body and finds that she has recovered. There are no sequelae left in her body. Her peak Jindan cultivation has also stabilized. She can't help but be overjoyed. Little sister, you're finally awake. Little sister, how do you feel? The people of the Xiaoyao school hear the noise and rush in like a swarm of bees. Everyone's face is filled with joy. Only Luo Yu's face is still a little pale, which is completely different from his usual lively temperament. He quietly kneels by Mu Yan's bed, some emotions that were originally absent in his eyes. Unfortunately, he doesn't have time to say, sick sister, I'm sorry. Mu Yin snappily says, I just comforted Xiao Bao. Don't tell me you want me to comfort you again? Shaoqi, look at how old Xiao Bao is. How old are you? Xiao Bao says coldly. Xiao Bao is 5 years old. I'll be 6 soon. After a pause, he says awkwardly, Xiao Bao is grown up. He doesn't need mother to comfort him. Shaoqi, do you need it? Luo Yu opens his mouth. His belly full of sadness, guilt, and melancholy had all been washed away, okay. When did he fall to the point of being looked down upon by a baby? Luo Yu gloomily says, if I wasn't so weak, sick sister wouldn't have to. Mu Yin gently touches his head and interrupts him. She also looks at Xiao Bao and the other people of the Xiaorao school. In this world where the weak are prey to the strong, who hasn't been powerless, who hasn't been desperate and compromised, it's not shameful to be too weak when you can't beat them. What's shameful is to be immersed in the past and regret and stagnate. We, the people of the Xiaoyao school, don't need such cowardly emotions. Xiaoqi only needs to know that every battle can let us crazily absorb experience and make us stronger step by step, until one day, the 7 of us stand on the top of the mountain. In this world, no one can hurt us or the people we care about. That's enough. Luo Yu's eyes suddenly brighten. The gloominess and depression on his body dissipate little by little in his bright eyes. I understand. Sixth sister, I won't let you all down. The other people of the Xiaoyao school show relieved smiles. Even Xiao Bao, although he doesn't quite understand, unconsciously looks more relaxed. Mu Yin looks around. Where's Junior Master? That day, before I fainted, I clearly saw Junior Martial Uncle. Lung Yuma said gloomily. Little Martial Uncle sent you back and set up a formation to heal you before leaving. I don't know what youngest Martial Uncle is busy with. He used to stay with us for a few days in the Soaring Dragon, but now he's back to his usual secretive self in the Xiaoyao sect. Mu Yin was puzzled. What kind of a ray could heal injuries? Why hadn't she heard of it before? When he looked up, he saw that Yun Ruhan's expression was a little strange. He could not help but ask, eldest senior brother, what's wrong? Did youngest Martial Uncle leave any words behind? Yun Ruhan seemed to be startled. She abruptly turned around and laughed dryly. No, Junior Martial Uncle didn't leave anything behind. Junior sister, you must be hungry since you just woke up. Let's go prepare something for you. Without waiting for Mu Yan's reply, he hurriedly left. Chu Moli thoughtfully looked at Mu Yan, then looked at Yun Ruhan's hurried back. He turned his wheelchair around and followed her out. Under the moonlight, the courtyard of Tianlang Palace appeared to be magnificent and magnificent. Chapter 2150. Yun Ruhan was in no mood to appreciate this beautiful scenery. Instead, she stared blankly at the sky with a frown. Suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. Eldest senior brother, have you also noticed? Yun Ruhan jumped in fright. When she turned around and saw that it was Chu Moli, she heaved a sigh of relief. Third brother, why are you appearing and disappearing so mysteriously these days? When Chu Moli had appeared behind him just now, he hadn't noticed it at all. What did you say I discovered? Chu Moli calmly looked at him. Soon after, the corners of his lips curled up, revealing a warm smile. Little Martial Uncle. Yun Ruhan's expression suddenly stiffened, and she stuttered. Third brother, don't talk nonsense. How could I find out that Uncle Master? Uncle Master is... Suddenly, his voice paused, and he asked in bewilderment. You discovered it long ago? Chu Moli shook his head helplessly. It's that obvious. Only a group of slow people like you wouldn't notice it. After saying that, the wheelchair slowly turned in a circle, actually planning to leave. Third bro, wait a minute. What should I do? Salad. Then, Junior Martial Uncle. Do you think you can influence Little Martial Uncle's decision? Can he influence Junior Sister's decision? No, I can't. So, is there any other way besides dressing it cold? Yun Ruhan stopped and let out a long sigh. Yes. All of this wasn't something that he could control, nor was it something that any human could control. He'd better pretend that he didn't know anything. Wait a minute. Yun Ruhan glared at Chu Moli, who was already far away. Did this guy chase after me just to mock me for being slow? What's salad? All of you have learned bad things from Bai Xie. After adjusting herself, Mayan first enters the inheritance space. She had originally promised Little Joe's master that she would go inside to learn and cultivate every day, but in the end, she had not gone in for 10 days. He wondered if Little Joe's master was angered to death. Would he never come to the inheritance space again and never teach her again? However, when she enters the inheritance space, Mu Yen finds that Han Chujio is inside. However, when he sensed her coming in, he didn't have the time to pay attention to her. He just immersed himself in concocting the pill formula. Compared to 10 days ago, Han Chuji's appearance can only be described as miserable. His body was covered in black ash, and a few pieces of his hair and beard had been burnt off. Her originally smooth and tender cheeks also became dry and rough, as if she was dehydrated. Under her two round eyes, there were unconcealable dark circles. Muyin was shocked by Han Chuji's appearance. If a cultivator didn't rest for a short period of time, or if they meditated for a long time, they wouldn't show any signs of fatigue. Only by using spiritual power or divine soul for a long period of time would one be in a miserable state like a mortal who had not slept for several days and nights. And with Han Chujo's appearance, it is clear that she hasn't slept for dozens or even hundreds of days. The time-flow ratio of the inheritance space and the outside world is 12:1. Could it be that Han Chujo has been inside since he fainted? Not even a moment of rest? Hearing Mayan's question, Han Chujo said indifferently, "I'm not going to sleep. What's the point of sleeping? My good disciple, don't disturb me. I'm busy right now. Go and refine pills by yourself. I'll accompany you after I refine the advanced version of the detoxification pill." Muyin curiously looks at the floor full of medicine. Almost all of them were immortal medicines that she had never seen before in the cultivation continent. They should be immortal medicines that only existed in the cultivation continent. Of course, these immortal medicines were just illusions created by Han Chujo in the inheritance space. It's impossible for Mu Yin to bring them to the cultivation continent. Chapter 2151. On the bluestone bricks next to the immortal medicine, Han Chujo engraved numerous talisman arrays. He engraved one, then another, then turned his head and frowned, crossing out one of them. After fiddling with a few talisman arrays, he went back to explore the immortal medicine with his divine sense. Then, he frowned and wrote something on the paper. Han Chujo's research has completely exceeded Mu Yan's knowledge of alchemy. After a few glances, she went back to continue refining her elixirs. More than 10 hours passed in a blink of an eye. Mu Yan looked at the successfully refined elixirs and took a long sigh. With the alchemy furnace and inheritance that Han Chujo gave her, she made rapid progress in alchemy. But it seems that something is still missing, resulting in her being unable to meet Jiao Shifu's requirements. Jiao Shifu is obviously a perfectionist. The first point is the purity of the elixir. In the Xiojin continent's market, the purity of ordinary elixirs can probably be swallowed. It can reach 60%. A powerful alchemy master can reach 70% or 75%. And now, under the premise that Mayan doesn't use the cloudy sea, the purity of the elixir can reach 80%. If such an elixir is taken out to be tested, it will definitely shock a lot of people. An elixir with 85% purity can almost be said to have no damn poison, and there will be no backlash. But in Han Chujo's eyes, an elixir with 85% purity is just a waste. It will be a waste to eat it. Han Chujo's requirement is that except for poisonous elixirs and elixirs that have special side effects, the purity of other elixirs must be 85%. 90% is passable, and 95% is qualified to be Han Chujo's apprentice. Mu Yin used the magic weapon in the inheritance space to test the newly refined elixir. 83%. Mu Yin frowned. It didn't even reach the passing line of Jiao Shifu. After refining all day, Mu Yin was a little tired and inexplicably upset. She didn't choose to continue refining elixirs, but left the inheritance space to sleep. However, this sleep is very restless. Mayan vaguely hears the sound of crying incessantly ringing in her ears. She stood in the void, looking in the direction of the crying. However, her eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of fog, and she couldn't see clearly. He could only faintly see someone lying on the bed, surrounded by a frightening black aura. There were many people kneeling around the bed, and it was from these kneeling people that the cries came. Mayan is in a dream. Everything is chaotic, and she can't clearly see who the person on the bed is. But looking at him and listening to his cries, he felt an indescribable pain and panic spread throughout his body. Mine exerts all her strength to head towards the bed, wanted to take a look at that person's appearance. Slowly, it got closer and closer. The originally indistinct sobbing voice seemed to be mixed with a few muffled syllables. Medicine antidote. The fog in front of her seemed to be suddenly pushed aside, and the man's appearance became clear in an instant. However, before Mu Yin could take a closer look, she seemed to have been struck by something, and suddenly woke up. Mu Yin sat on the bed, gasping for breath. She vaguely felt that she had dreamed of some suffocating scene, but when she opened her eyes, she couldn't remember anything. "Mother!" Xiao Bao threw himself in her arms and looked at her worriedly. "Mother, your forehead is sweating a lot. What's wrong?" Mu Yin gently touched his little face. "Mother had a nightmare. I was a little scared." Chapter 2152. Xiao Bao blinks his big watery eyes, the bottom of his eyes full of surprise. It turns out that Nianqin also has nightmares? Nianqin gets scared when she has nightmares? Nianqin is not afraid. Xiao Bao hugs her tightly. Xiao Bao will accompany Nianqin and drive away the nightmares. He used to be like this. When he has a nightmare, as long as he opens his eyes and sees Nianqin, he won't be afraid. Mu Yan's smile softens, as if it's about to melt. Nianqin is no longer afraid when she sees Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao rubs himself in her arms and says somewhat sullenly, "Why hasn't Daddy come to see us yet?" After saying that, he shows an embarrassed expression. Grabbing Mu Yan's fingers, he whispers, "Nianqin, Xiao Bao isn't dragging Daddy back. Xiao Bao is just missing Daddy." Mu Yan hugs and kisses him, revealing a disappointed expression at the same time. That's right, she hasn't seen Di Ming for a long time. It's not just Xiao Bao who misses Daddy, she also misses her fiancé. Xiuxian Continent, Polar Domain. Elder Chong, Han Yi, Ying, and Army Breaker hurriedly rush into Medicine King Hall. The trio's faces are full of anxiety, their bloodshot eyes showing that their nerves are stretched to the extreme. As soon as they enter Medicine King Hall, Han Yi shouts, Medicine King, hasn't the detoxification pill been developed yet? So noisy, so noisy." Han Chuzhou's disheveled and dirty figure appears out of thin air in Medicine King Hall, angrily saying, "Didn't I tell you that if it's developed, it will be sent to Spirit Wind Palace?" Han Yi hoarsely says, "But I'm afraid that it'll be too late if it's any later. The Star Wolf has already shown a mutation phenomenon. At most, it'll be completely swallowed by the poison in a moment. At that time, I'm afraid that even if there's an antidote, it would be too late." Junshani? At this point, Han Ye's voice becomes incomparably hoarse, almost unable to continue. Elder Chong wipes his face, a pair of turbid eyes staring at Han Chuzhou. "Xiao Jiu, many people in the other domains have heard that Junshang was poisoned, and it's a poison with no antidote. The people of the Nether Realm even directly came to our door to disturb us. For the sake of the stability of the polar domain, in order to not let these people see any clues, Ruler had no choice but to personally come out and intimidate them with the might of thunder to scare them away. Even after returning, Junshang's performance is still the same as before, as if the poison has no effect on him. But I can see that Junshang's hand has already begun to mutate. I don't know how long Junshang can last, how long Polar Domain can last without Junshang. Polar Domain is finished. Han Yi suddenly kneels down with a thump, choking with sobs. Medicine Wang Darren, I kowtow to you. I beg you to save Junshang. In the past, I was insensible and offended you. As long as you can save Junshang, I, Han Yi, will work like an ox or a horse for you for the rest of my life." Without hesitation, Ying Mei and defeating armies also knelt down. Seeing that even Chang Lao was trembling and wanted to kneel, Han Chuzhou almost went crazy. He pulled Elder Chang up and cursed, "You bunch of bastards. Do you really think that I would stand by and watch that little bastard Diming die? I want to teach him a lesson, but I will personally teach him a lesson. How can it be someone else's turn to kill him?" Speaking up to here, Han Chuzhou's voice suddenly becomes dry. But the antidote is not yet successful. There is a kind of toxin in the poison that is alive. It will reproduce on its own. Only in small amounts, it's fine. We can use the method of harming the enemy by 1,000 and ourselves by 800 to erase it in one fell swoop. Chapter 2153. But once there are more, this kind of reproduction will be endless and seamless. Hey, why am I telling you this? You won't understand. Although Han Chujo said that they can't understand, Elder Chong and the others still understood what they wanted to know. Their faces were ashen and full of despair. Even Han Chujo can't solve the poison. Can anyone else in this world do it? Gun, could it be that Jun Shang can't be saved like this? Han Chujo grabbed his hair and angrily said, Okay. Who are you showing this face to? It's not time yet. Di Ming is not dead yet, right? As long as he is not dead and not completely mutated, there is still a chance. Get out of my Medicine King Hall. This father is going to study the detoxification plan. After sending away Elder Chong and the others, Han Chujo quickly returned to the inheritance space. As soon as Mayan came in, she was shocked by the scene in front of her. Jiu Shifu, what happened to you? She saw that Han Chujo's scalp was scratched and bloody. His hair fell to the ground. His white and tender hands were stained with blood at this time, and there were scratches everywhere, but he didn't feel it. Jiu Shifu, what's wrong? There's no way to kill him. Why can't I kill him? Han Chujo's eyes stared blankly, and his mouth uttered a hoarse murmur. Impossible? Is there really no cure for the poison? Isn't that kid dead? Mayan took out the spiritual water in the space and gave him a little. Then, she infused her spiritual power into his body. Seeing that his mind was clear, she asked, Jiu Shifu, what can't be killed? What is the poison? Han Chujo grabbed her hand and said with grievance, Good disciple, if this master can't solve the poison, I will be laughed at by that group of people for a lifetime. And this master is the sacred ancestor Medicine King. How can I not even solve a trivial poison? What kind of poison is it? Jiu Shifu, you are stumped. Han Chujo, like a bamboo tube pouring beans, said the poison and his own detoxification plan, as well as the problems he encountered. But he was on the verge of collapse and wanted to talk. He didn't believe that Mayan could help him. Muyin doesn't even understand a lot of the things he says. In fact, the poison in Han Chuji's mouth requires many complicated alchemy talisman arrays, a powerful and uncontrollable alchemy fire, and a variety of immortal medicines. Up until now, Mayan hasn't even seen an immortal herb. However, after listening to Han Chuji's narration, Mu Yin frowned and suddenly said, Jiu Shifu, you said that the poison will multiply. Then, can the medicine we decipher also multiply indefinitely? Will it be useful? How can an immortal medicine that has already been refined be able to reproduce endlessly? Immortal herbs and spirit herbs won't work. But what about goo worms? Han Chujo was shocked. Goo worm? Mu Yin takes out the Tian Mo Chin and the golden silkworm goo. The Tian Mo Chin gently plucks the strings. Summerbug's language of ice activates. To devour. The originally small, almost invisible golden silkworm goo suddenly began to split at a rapid speed. 1, 2, for 100, 1,000. Han Chujo looked at the scene in front of her in disbelief, then looked up at Mu Yin. You can control goo? No, this can no longer be described as controlling goo worms. In the Shoshin continent, there are people who are good at raising goo worms. Han Chujo herself raised a lot of poisonous and medicinal goo worms. Chapter 2154. But even if it's the most professional sect, it can't make the goo split and multiply in an instant, right? Han Chujo suddenly thought of something. His eyes lit up and he excitedly raised his voice. Good disciple, in addition to this golden silkworm goo, can you control other goo to split quickly? Mu Yin thought for a moment. Low-level goo should be fine, but I can't control the golden silkworm mother goo. With the upgrade of her Shin musician skills, Summerbug's language of ice has become much better than when she could only control a small insect. However, most of the time, Mu Yin would use the Seven-Ju Sword Spirit, Cloudbirth Sea, floating like a dream, and so on. As for the Summerbug's language of ice skill, she doesn't use it much. Her mastery of the skill is naturally not much better. Han Chujio was overjoyed. She quickly left the inheritance space and came back after a while. She was holding a black devourer. He is holding a small black box in his hand. He carefully takes out a goo from the box that is not much bigger than the golden silkworm goo. Good disciple, precious disciple. Try to see if you can make these goo grow. Mu Yin nods and gently plucks the Tian Mo Chin in her hand. After a while, the scene just now reappeared. In the blink of an eye, the original one goo has become thousands, tens of thousands. Good? That was great. Ha 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 ha. The detoxification pill can be refined. Han Chujio is so excited that he is dancing with joy. The beard on his face has fallen, but he didn't notice it. Mu Yin looks at her Jiu Shifu in surprise. After the long white beard has fallen, why does his face look smaller than Shao Qi? However, Han Chujio can't care about anything at this time. After laughing for a while, he immediately exclaims, "Oh no, you are not in the Xiaoxin continent. Who will control the goo? Good disciple, hurry, tell Master where you are. Master will send someone to pick you up. Time is pressing, it's too late." Mu Yin smiles softly. Jiu Shifu, in fact, these goo don't need to hear the sound of the zither to split. I just need to give them instructions before they are used in the medicine. This was the method Mu Yin used to deal with Lu Rua's senior sister, Chen Xiuxiu. However, it was much more difficult to control the goo worms through commands than using zither music to control them. After controlling 3 to 5 of them, her divine sense would be depleted and she would need to rest for a few days. But Ninth Shifu is so good to her, Mu Yin feels that it's worth it to rest for a few days. Moreover, for some reason, when he heard the poison mentioned by his ninth master and told him that the person couldn't be saved, he felt a chill run down his spine. Mayan has an inexplicable sense of panic and fear, so she unconsciously agrees. Hopefully, the ninth master would succeed. Divine Wind Palace. Star Wolf, hold on a little longer. Pill King will definitely develop the antidote. Han Yi sits in front of the Star Wolf's bed, holding his hand tightly and shouting in a hoarse voice. The person lying on the bed had a strange scarlet hue to his skin, which was originally white. On his neck, where the ghost bit him, there were even terrifying wrinkles that resembled cracked skin. The Star Wolf opened his mouth, but what came out of his mouth was not a gasp, but a ghastly howl. There was also a disgusting rancid smell in the air. Ingmei, defeating armies, Elder Chong, and many of the Polar Domain's core members were standing in this room. Everyone's face is filled with sorrow. Even if the Star Wolf was usually unruly, often offending people. Chapter 2155. Those who didn't get along with him didn't feel the slightest bit of schadenfreude when they saw his current appearance. Instead, they only felt the fear of the fox mourning the death of the rabbit. That was because they all knew it. The Star Wolf was not the only one afflicted with the stallion ghost poison. There were also sovereign emperors. Soon, the imperial monarchs would become like the Star Wolf. Star Wolf died, but they were only sad. However, once an imperial lord truly mutated, the sky would collapse. Tears of blood dripped from the Star Wolf's eyes. His face, which had started to change, continuously trembled and twisted. Antidote, there will be an antidote. I'm sure I can refine it, right? He grips Han Ye's hand in a death grip, asking again and again with his barely formed voice. He knew he couldn't wait for the antidote. But Junshang can. As long as Junshang is fine. As long as Junshang doesn't die. It's fine even if he goes to hell. But not being able to see Junshang in one piece with his own eyes. Even if he were to die, he would carry a bone-deep guilt, unable to close his eyes in peace. "My lord! Greetings, lord!" Suddenly, there was a commotion in the crowd, and they all knelt down. Compared to how they usually kept quiet out of fear, today they couldn't help but raise their heads from time to time and sneak a peek at the person who came. His face was filled with worry and panic that could not be concealed. Star Wolf tried his best to widen his eyes, wanting to see who it was. However, at this moment, there was only a bloody light in his eyes, and he couldn't even see a figure clearly. He had implicated his most revered Junshang. Now, even in death, he wouldn't be able to see Junshang again. Tears of blood gushed out of his eyes, filled with endless regret and unwillingness. Junshang, Junshang, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have disobeyed orders. Leaving Miss Jun's side. Not only has he wronged Junshang, he has also wronged Jun Mayan and the Little Master. That warning of danger represented that Mu Yin and Xiao Bao had fallen into a desperate situation where life and death hung by a thread. He and Junshang didn't have the time to rush over. It's possible that that woman and the Little Master have already. Mu Yin and Xiao Bao are fine. The man's low and cold voice suddenly entered the Star Wolf's ears. There were no emotional fluctuations, but it was like a cool breeze blowing away the regret in Star Wolf's heart. His mouth, which had grown fangs, cracked into a ferocious smile. Jun Mayan and the Little Master were still alive. Weren't they irredeemable because of him? That's great. That's really great. Xing Lang lets out a hoarse voice. Junshang, you must live on. Miss Jun, they are still waiting for you, subordinate. Subordinate will leave first. Saying that, he turns his head towards Han Yi. Although he can't see clearly, he knows that Han Yi is sitting next to him. The two of them had always been at odds with each other and had done many things to hinder each other. But the brotherly love that they had built up for so many years was not fake. Han Yi, the Star Wolf's voice becomes more and more indistinct. Hoarse, kill me. I don't want to become that kind of monster. Kill me. Han Ye's tiger-like eyes are red. His voice is so hoarse that he almost can't speak. Xing Lang, hold on a little longer. Perhaps Medicine King will arrive soon. Tada! If that's the case, do you believe it? Yes. No one on the scene believes such words. Even Han Yi himself doesn't believe it. In the Shoshin continent, the calamity of the poltergeist ghost has been around for many years. If they could develop a pill that could completely restrain the poison, would they have waited until today? Chapter 2156. Seeing that Han Yi isn't willing to make a move, Star Wolf suddenly struggles to use his claw-like hands to take out an elixir and slowly stuffs it into his mouth. Han Yi, I already knew that you're not reliable. Fortunately, I've already made preparations. Han Ye's pupils contract when he sees the red elixir. That's the splitting soul pill. Once swallowed, the soul will explode inch by inch. The pain is unimaginable to ordinary people. But as long as he takes it before the mutation, the splitting soul pill can stop Star Wolf from turning into a monster that's neither human nor ghost. Everyone present knew what the outcome of the Star Wolf consuming this soul-splitting pill would be. They want to stop him, but they're powerless. In the end, they can only turn their heads in pain. Junshang, Star Wolf can follow you in this life. It's the greatest fortune. It's a pity. Star Wolf disappoints you. Diming Ju bows his head to look at him. Tears of blood are flowing out from his eyes, and his blue eyes, which have always been cold and without ripples, finally fluctuate a little. His hands are tightly clenched in his sleeves. No one can see that the skin on his hands has already begun to mutate. Star Wolf slowly puts the splitting soul pill in his hand into his mouth. At this moment, a series of hurried shouts suddenly came from the door. Get lost! Get lost! What are you blocking this old man for? Report? Report at this time. Report my ass. Where's Diming Ju and his dying lackey? Still not bringing this old man over. Damn! Idiot, ask my ass. Diming Ju raises brainless people like you. Hearing this voice, Elder Chong jumps up from the ground. Little Nine, it's Little Nine. Did he refine the antidote? Hurry, bring him in. Han Ye's and Ing Mei's eyes light up. However, everyone's complexion changes when they think that the splitting soul pill has already been swallowed by Star Wolf. Star Wolf, hurry and spit out the splitting soul pill. The king of medicine is here. Star Wolf, you might be saved. Diming Ju reaches out and grabs something in the air. A man with a dusty face, with half of his hair and eyebrows burnt, is lifted by the neck and carried into the room. Bastard Di Mingju. Do you think you're carrying a chicken? This old man is your elder. Elder. The other people in the room didn't wait for Han Chujio to finish scolding. They pulled her over. Lord Medicine King. Quickly, Starwolf thought that there was no chance of survival, so he swallowed the soul-splitting pill. You know, once the soul-splitting pill starts to explode, even immortals can't save you. Not even the antidote. Han Yi still hasn't finished his words. Han Chujio slowly put a pill in Xing Lang's mouth, and then gently patted his dantian. Puff! The half-digested soul-splitting pill was directly spat out, and then Han Chujio kicked it aside. After that, he looks at Han Yi contemptuously. What did you just say? Even immortals can't save the soul-splitting pill? Han Ye's face stiffens. Then he immediately smiles with delight. What does an immortal count as? You're the sacred ancestor Medicine King. You're naturally more powerful than an immortal. This was the first time everyone in the room had witnessed the power of the sacred ancestor Medicine King. In the eyes of others, the soul-splitting pill could not be saved even if one died. In the hands of the king pharmacist, it was as easy as blowing off dust. Little Nine, where's the antidote? Did you refine it? Old Chong asks nervously. When Han Chujio heard this, she took a deep breath and took out 2 blood-red pills from her sleeve. Chapter 2157. Han Chujio, I don't know if this medicine will work or not. If he dies, don't blame me. Han Yi excitedly rushed over and grabbed the pill. Without thinking, he stuffed it in his Starwolf's mouth. It's okay, it's okay. Anyway, this guy is dying. Let him test the medicine for Jun Shang first. Jun Shang. Wait for Starwolf to confirm the effect of the medicine. What if there is a problem with this medicine? It's enough to poison Starwolf. Everyone. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say that you have a deep brotherhood? Is your brotherhood made of paper? Han Chujio raised her eyebrows. Whose medicine are you saying can poison people? Do you believe that this old man will give you a taste of the poison? Everyone seems to be playing around, but their attention is all focused on Starwolf. Even Han Chujio, although she is talking to Han Yi, her eyes are looking at Starwolf. Her hands are tightly clenched. Her good disciple said that she has ordered the resurrection soul insect. When the medicine melts into the dantian and limbs, it will begin to split. Han Chujio has lived for so long, but she has never heard of such a technique in the world. Can her good disciple really succeed? Time passed by. A quarter of an hour. An hour. An hour. Starwolf's eyes are closed. There is no reaction at all, just like a dead body. Han Yi nervously said, Master Medicine Yu, is your medicine reliable? Starwolf won't be poisoned to death, right? Almost at the moment when his voice fell, Starwolf's mouth suddenly uttered a painful groan. Under his skin, there are small bumps that are almost invisible to the naked eye. They are constantly bulging and disappearing. While everyone was still in shock, they saw Starwolf suddenly open his eyes. His blood-red eyes gradually changed to a normal black color. And on his skin, the original mutation, as well as the rotten and smelly wounds, were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a short quarter of an hour, Starwolf slowly stood up from the bed. He stared at his recovered hands. After a long time, he returned to his senses and kneeled in front of Han Chujio. Thank you, Medicine King. From now on, if Medicine King has an errand, Starwolf will go through water and tread on fire, even if it means death. Her tears dripped onto the ground, leaving a trail of mist in the air. Most people thought that Xing Lang was thanking Han Chujio for saving his life. But only Han Yi and a few others who are close to the Starwolf know that he is grateful to the King of Medicine for refining the antidote for the poison, allowing Di Mingju to live unscathed. What did you say? This antidote pill was refined by your little disciple. Elder Chong and Han Yi shout in disbelief. No wonder they were surprised. Everyone knows that Han Chujio's apprentice was accepted in the Xiojin continent. The people in the cultivation world were at most nihility immortals. No, these people didn't even have immortal energy. Even the people of the Xiojin continent were helpless against this poison. How could anyone in the lower realm succeed? Why don't you take a look at whose disciple he is? Han Chujia's pride is simply too high. Oh yes, the cost of 2 detoxification pills is not small. Remember to pay for it. This old man and my disciple must pay for it. My disciple is in the Xiojin continent. I can't send him anything that is too high level. Go and get some low-level crystal stones. If you dare to renege on your debt, umph. The people in the polar domain are very grateful to Han Chujio and his apprentice, so how could they renege on their debt? Although low-level crystal stones are not easy to find in the Xiojin continent. Chapter 2158. But even if they have to use all the power of the polar domain, they will definitely get this reward. Han Chujio sees that they are so obedient, so he nods his head in satisfaction. His good disciple is good at everything, but she is a little poor. She always wants to sell those inferior elixirs. Umph. How can he, the king of medicine's disciple, sell such inferior elixirs? Isn't this damaging his reputation as the king of medicine? This is good. He earned a lot of money for his good disciple. He believes that his good disciple will be very happy. Little Gio, what is your disciple's name? Is it a man or a woman? Old Chong excitedly said, she is not a pseudo-immortal, but she can refine an antidote. She is a rare alchemy genius. You can actually meet such a person. Han Chujio is flattered. He almost can't find the north. My disciple, is certainly a beautiful girl. Her name is... He hasn't finished his words when he suddenly looks at Di Ming and the others. Umph. Why are you asking about my disciple's identity? Are you trying to poach me? Or, Di Ming, this peacock wants to hook up with my disciple? I'm telling you, no way. I won't let you taint my precious disciple. Han Chujio hasn't finished his words, but old Chong and Han Yi have already sprayed out their tea. Peacock. King of Medicine actually said that their emperor is a peacock. What a joke. Is there such a cold, ruthless, and aloof peacock? Cough, cough. King of Medicine, don't talk nonsense. Han Yi shouts with a red face. Our emperor already has a fiancé who will look at your disciple. Han Chujio gets even angrier. My disciple is loved by everyone. She is unparalleled in the world. Who does Di Ming think he is? Why can't he look at her? Everyone. Di Ming lightly says, Tianwu Mountain's phoenix grass and Kunlun wood as the reward for King of Medicine. Is that enough? As soon as this statement comes out, not only Han Chujio is stunned, even Han Yi and the others are shocked. Then, there is an irrepressible ecstasy. Jun Shang, you can go deep into Tianwu Mountain and devour it. What happened? My lord, this time you really stepped into the immortal emperor realm? Han Chujio looked at the handsome young man in front of her in disbelief. Her facial expression was very complicated. An immortal emperor who was not even 1,000 years old. This was simply unprecedented, and it was possible that no one would be able to do so in the future. He was also the only immortal emperor in the entire Xiojin continent. Moreover, Di Ming had fallen into a deep sleep for many years after he had fallen into a trap. If it hadn't been for the mishap back then, his strength would probably have been even stronger, and his breakthrough would have been even faster. Di Ming glanced at his left hand, then slowly pinched it again. At the moment of life and death, he senses that Mayan and Xiao Bao are in danger. The situation at that time made it impossible for him to rush over to help. In the end, he chose to shoulder his own responsibility and believe in Mu Yin. It was that kind of mental breakthrough that allowed him to finally get a glimpse of the heavenly secret of stepping into the immortal emperor realm. Now, although he had not reached the immortal emperor level, he had already taken one step into it. In another year at most, the immortal emperor realm would be completely stabilized. His enhanced divine sense and senses also let him know that Mayan not only survived the crisis, but also grew again. Maybe what Yin Yin said is right. He should believe in her more. Mayan was never his subordinate, not his wife. She doesn't even need to be the mistress of the polar domain. Chapter 2159. She is just her, the one and only woman in the world, but he loves her deeply. Deming-ju collected his thoughts and slowly raised his head. He didn't answer everyone's questions, but looked at Han Chujio. Within a year, Ben-jun will bring phoenix grass and Kunlun wood for Medicine King. Is Medicine King satisfied with this reward? Han Chujio returned to the Medicine King Hall. When he entered the inheritance space, he was still in a trance. So much so that he didn't notice that his little apprentice came in. "Geomaster, what's wrong?" Mu Yin asked nervously. Did the antidote not work? Han Chujio recovered and nodded again and again. It worked. My good apprentice, you are really Master's lucky star. Mu Yin breathed a long sigh of relief. She doesn't know who her master wants to cure. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with her, right? But she doesn't know why. When she heard that the poison was detoxified, she felt inexplicably relieved. By the way, Master, who was poisoned by the parasite in your mouth? Han Chujio humphed and said, Isn't it that group of bastards? They bully Master happily on ordinary days, but at the critical moment, don't they still need to rely on Master to save them? That little expression was really indescribable, like a villain intoxicated by success. His bright eyes and bulging cheeks, the more she looks, the more childish and cute he becomes. Mu Yan's line of sight falls on the white beard on his mouth. Strange, why does the corner seem to be raised? And the skin under it becomes more and more white and smooth, and it looks particularly good. Mu Yan's hands itch. She can't help but pinch the raised beard and pull it. Tear! Han Chujio is dumbfounded. Mu Yan is also dumbfounded. Master? Mu Yan blinked her eyes. Are you really my Master Medicine King? You're not the grandson of Medicine King in disguise, right? Han Chujio only felt like a bolt from the blue. The sky is spinning, and she can't wait to faint. He was discovered. His precious apprentice found out his true face. It's over. His precious apprentice must not want him anymore. What if his precious apprentice is taken away by those bastards in the polar domain and that peacock Deming-ju? Then, Mu Yin looks at her Geomaster, who has been pretending to be an immortal for several days. Like a grasshopper on a frying pan, he jumped around in the inheritance space. He kept muttering things like flower peacock, precious disciple, can't be taken away. Mu Yin simply doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. With great difficulty, she managed to calm her ninth master down. Han Chujio seemed to have realized something, so she coughed and showed her sage-like face again. It's just that, now that there's no white beard and white hair to cover him up, and Mu Yin has just seen his true face. Seeing him like this, she couldn't help but laugh. Ahem, ninth master, you said you're over 1,000 years old? Then why does he still look like a teenager? Especially this round face, round eyes, and chubby little hands. Cough! She looked even cuter than little Seven. It made people want to pinch that round face unconsciously. Han Chujio gritted her teeth and said, It's because of that damn curse. Curse? Mu Yin stares blankly at first. Then his pupils constricted. She is not unfamiliar with this word. When her third brother's illness broke out, her eldest brother said that he was under a curse. But when Mu Yin asked what the curse was, her fellow apprentices remained silent. Or perhaps, apart from her third brother, no one else knows about it. Chapter 2160. Now, she actually heard this curse from her Jiu-Shifu. She doesn't know if these two curses are the same thing. Jiu-Shifu, what is a curse? Han Chujio's face turned pale, but she immediately shook her head. My good disciple, you don't need to know these dirty things. In fact, it's useless for you to know now. This is not something you can touch with your current cultivation. Mu Yan's heart shuddered. She swallowed back the question she wanted to ask. Jiu-Shifu was right. If she doesn't have enough strength, even if she touched the secret, she will not be able to help her third brother and Jiu-Shifu. In the end, she may even implicate the people she cares about. So, she changed the topic. Jiu-Shifu, the people you saved this time, are they the people who bully you? Han Chujio coldly snorted. This old man doesn't really want to save them. They bully me, so of course I want my disciple to defeat them. If I let them die so easily, wouldn't it be too easy for them? Muyin couldn't help but laugh out loud. Under Han Chujio's unhappy eyes, she held back her laughter. Yes, Jiu Shifu is right. This disciple will definitely avenge you in the future. Han Chujio remembered the words of the people in the polar domain, so she worriedly said, My good disciple, let me tell you, there is a peacock in that group. He is especially good at attracting girls. My good disciple, you must not let him steal your soul. We can't let that group of bastards recruit them. Muyin chuckled and said, Master, rest assured, I already have a fiancé. I don't like that peacock in your mouth. Who knows? When she said that, Han Chujio became unhappy again. You are so young. How can you have a fiancé? How can those ordinary people be worthy of you? Muyin, Han Chujio, hurry and dump him. Even if you choose that peacock, it's better than those ordinary people. Muyin. Wait, Jiu Shifu. Do you really love or hate the peacock that bullied you? After recuperating, Muyin began to heal Chu Tianyu and Murong Shui. Although Murong Shui's injury was serious, it was not serious. Under Muyin's treatment and Long Tongue's various elixirs, she recovered in about half a month. But Chu Tianyu's injuries were much more serious. His cultivation level dropped to the level of fasting. If that was all, it would be fine. At the very least, he could keep his life. But in the Dingwa manner, Chu Tianyu's lifespan and blood essence had been devoured by Chu Xingyan. Even his divine soul was damaged from forcefully activating the teleportation array. In the face of such a situation where her entire body and soul system were on the verge of collapse, Muyin was also somewhat helpless. In the end, he could only keep him immersed in floating like a dream to maintain the balance of his body for the time being. The core members of Team Qilin, Murong Shui, Duan Wenbin, Chu Yuanlei, Zhu Chongliang, and Jin Zhonghao, all stood before the unconscious Chu Tianyu's bed, their eyes filled with worry. We've always known that there are many things hidden in the captain's heart, but I didn't expect him to bear so much at such a young age. Duan Wenbin looks at Mayan and opens his mouth. In the end, because of the 6-star order, he can't say that form of address. He can only say, Miss June, many thanks to your carefree team for disregarding our former enmity and rescuing our captain and Ashue. Muyin glances at them and says unhurriedly, Who said that we don't care about past enmity? Who told you that this is free help? Huh? Chapter 2161. Luo Yu took a few steps forward and said with a smile, 1 life for 500,000 superior-grade crystals, a total of 1 million. Oh, that's just the money for saving a life from an out-of-body stage cultivator. As for the rest of the treatment fee, Murong Shui is 300,000 crystals. Chu Tianyu wasn't saved, so let's take it a little cheaper, 200,000. Thank you, 1,500,000 superior-grade crystals. Would you like to pay now, or go back to raise the crystals together? The Qilin team. Zhu Chongliang coughed lightly. I'll pay for these crystals. He took out a stack of shiny notes. 1,500,000 superior-grade crystals are too big to store in the storage space. Can I use the Zhu family's common notes? The Zhu family was the richest in the Azure Blue realm. They were also the richest in the Purple Cloud realm, at least on the surface. The Zhu family's notes were the most widely circulated in the entire Purple Cloud realm. The Xiaoyao sect members stared at the notes he took out, their eyes wide. Duan Wenbin and the others said, We can't let Chongliang pay for it alone. I'll pay 500,000 too. As they spoke, they took out a crystal note as well. Isn't 1,500,000 crystals too little to buy the captains and my lives? Murong Shui said with a smile. How about this? I'll pay 1 million superior-grade crystals as an extra thank you. Handsome Luo Yu, for risking your life to save us. The Xiaoyao sect members. They slapped their faces and stared at the glittering crystal notes on the table, only to find that they hadn't disappeared. Instantly, they beamed with joy. Rich people. They didn't expect the young masters and young mistresses of the Qilin team to all look so weak. They didn't expect them to be so rich. And there was even the grandson of the richest man in the purple cloud realm. The people who had been indifferent to the Qilin team immediately put on warm and hospitable smiles. What did you say? Old grudges? Grudges? Are you kidding me? In front of such a thick golden thigh and sparkling crystal notes, there was no such thing. As they laughed, they saw Sun Yuanjiu, Zhou Daoi, and the vice deans walk into the Tianlang Palace. The members of the Kirin team saluted and left. Zhou Daoi also didn't exchange pleasantries and went straight to the point, saying to Mayan, "Miss June, the Deer Cry banquet has already ended for more than half a month. Everyone's strength and power have long been recognized by the people of Divine Elephant City and even the Purple Cloud Realm. I wonder if any of you are interested in joining Dragon Soaring Academy?" Mu Yin glances at her fellow apprentices, smiles, and doesn't say anything. Yun Ruhan stepped forward and said gently, "Thank you for your kindness, College Chief Zhou. However, we have already decided to return to the Starry School tomorrow." Zhou Daoi, Sun Yuanjiu, and the others all looked regretful, not to mention the relationship between Jun Mayan and Di Mingju. The talent of these people alone was something that had never been seen since the establishment of the Dragon Soaring Academy. Most importantly, in this team, Jun Mayan wasn't the only strong one. All 7 of them were very strong. Such power showed no signs of stagnation or slowing down. A month ago, there were only a few Jindan stage cultivators in the team, but now, all of them were at least at the 5th stage Jindan stage. Jun Mayan directly reached the peak of Jindan stage. How could such a rate of improvement not be shocking? The higher the cultivation of others, the slower their improvement, but it seemed to be the opposite for them. But seeing that they were determined to leave, he could only sigh. Chapter 2162. Zhou Daoi was even more impressed by the Starry School's luck. A rundown school had actually picked up 7 treasures. Smiling, Kong Yuanjiu took out a universe bag and handed it to them. "This is your reward." Mu Yin was a little surprised. In reality, they had already asked Zhou Xiaoyu to bring the first prize of the Deer Cry banquet back to the Starry School. There were some cultivation manuals and medicinal pills that could advance one's cultivation. These things could be seen everywhere in the Purple Cloud world like trash, but that was only limited to the sects and clans. It was almost impossible for the people of the Azure Blue world to obtain them. Therefore, the people of the Xiaoyao sect were quite satisfied with this reward. As if sensing their confusion, Kong Yuanjiu said with a warm smile, "These things are to thank everyone for saving the students of my Soaring Dragon Academy, and even more to thank Miss June for leaving the Chaotic Tower in Divine Elephant City." The Chaotic Tower that already belonged to Mu Yin was now standing in the center of Divine Elephant City. Many cultivators went in to experience it and were overjoyed to find that they were improving rapidly, especially the large sects and clans. After hearing about the Chaotic Tower's effects, they could not wait to send their subordinates and disciples over. However, only 100 people could enter the Chaotic Tower at a time. If one did not leave early, the cultivation would last 6 hours. Once they entered, no one would be willing to leave early. Therefore, even if the fee to enter the Chaotic Tower was 10 high-grade crystal stones, it was currently filled to the brim with people. It was unknown how long the queue would last. Yes, Mu Yin had the artifact spirit of the 6 Stars Tower, and Tutor Long Tongue helped to set up a crystal collection system for the Chaotic Tower. Long Tongue School would split the profits 20 to 80. She would take 80%, and Long Tongue would take 20%. For Long Tongue, this was not just a matter of income. Rather, the Chaotic Tower, standing in Divine Elephant City under Long Tongue's control, would bring them countless benefits. After leaving behind the items, Kong Yuanjiu and Zhou Daoi stood up to leave. Seeing that they were about to leave, Mu Yin coughed softly and hurriedly took out a crystal bill. This is the compensation for my broken alchemy furnace." Kong Yuanjiu and Zhou Daoi looked at each other. Then, it was Kong Yuanjiu who laughed. "Miss June, everything in Tianlang Palace belongs to the Emperor. If you want to compensate, You should compensate the Celestial Emperor with these crystals. Of course, there was no need to say whether the Emperor would accept it or not. Wasn't it just a matter of the left pocket going into the right pocket? Who knew that after listening to their words, not only was Mu Yin not happy, her face darkened instead. Because she remembers that before Di Mingju left, he whispered in her ear, "Yin Yin, besides these debts, you don't owe me anything else, right?" At that time, Mu Yin shook her head without thinking. She hears Di Mingju continue, "If there's any concealment, you'll have to pay the debt with your body. At that time, whatever Ben Jun tells you to do, you'll do it." Damn it. At that time, she was still thinking, other than secretly drawing naked men, she didn't know anything, right? Therefore, she agreed without hesitation. Who would have thought that this bastard was actually waiting for him here? Azure Blue World, Starry School. Meng Baichuan flipped through the cultivation manuals and pills Zhou Xiaoyu had brought back. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. That's great, that's great. With these things, the Starry School's power will increase in a short period of time. You've done well. You've done too well. Tears flowed down from his eyes. These were tears of excitement and happiness. Chapter 2163. Meng Baichuan had grown up in Starry School since he was young. After graduating, he also stayed in Starry School. Now that so many years had passed, he could be said to have taken root in Starry School and devoted his entire life to it. Before Diyu Dao, every college chief of Starry School had done their best to make Starry School stronger. They wanted to make Starry School the top school in the Azure Blue World, but they had never succeeded. But now, with these cultivation manuals and elixirs, there was a chance that all of their dreams could come true. Hearing Meng Baichuan's praise, Zhou Xiaoyu scratched his head awkwardly and said, "Our Tianshu team didn't do anything and was eliminated after the first round. To have such a result, it's all because of Team Carefree." Zhou Xiaoyu almost blurted out the word monster. He really couldn't be blamed for his slip of the tongue. Team Carefree was really too strong. Not to mention Jun Mayan, that monster. The other members of Team Carefree were also freakishly strong. Who would have thought that they would be eliminated in 1 or 2 rounds? In the end, they actually became the most dazzling sun in the entire Deer Cry banquet. Even Team Qilin, known as the undefeated legend of Dragon Soar, had lost to them. Right, it's all thanks to Jun Mayan and the others. Right? Where's Team Carefree? Meng Baichuan asked Zhou Xiaoyu excitedly. We have to prepare a celebration feast. They're the biggest contributors to Starry School. Zhou Xiaoyu scratched his head again. I don't know either. Since the last battle with Team Qilin, I haven't seen them. Meng Baichuan was confused and was about to ask. A servant beside Meng Baichuan hurried in and said with a panicked expression, "College Chief Meng, bad news, bad news." "What is it?" I heard in Tianluo City. I heard that Dragon Soar School offered great conditions to keep Team Carefree, especially Jun Mayan. I think Team Carefree will probably not come back to Starry School." Meng Baichuan's eyes widened. The smile on his face hadn't faded yet, but now it froze into astonishment. Then, this astonishment slowly turned into helplessness and bitterness. He forced a smile and said, This is normal. As long as the people from Dragon Soaring Academy aren't stupid, they can see how talented those kids from Carefree Team are. Staying in the small Starry School would only bury their talents. It's good for these children to go to Longting. When he first said these words, Meng Baichuan's heart was filled with indescribable bitterness. But as he spoke, he slowly convinced himself. After hearing Zhou Xiaoyu's description, as well as what the 7 of them had done in the Azure Blue World, Zhou Xiaoyu's eyes widened. Meng Baichuan knew that their cultivation had long surpassed his, as well as all the teachers and students of the Starry School. What else could these 7 children learn by staying here? Only by going to the Soaring Dragon could they grow faster and better. Principal Meng, Principal Li of the Spiritual and Martial Arts Academy wishes to see you. Meng Baichuan had just calmed himself down when he heard his subordinate report that Li Wenyuan had arrived. He couldn't help but frown. What is he doing here? Tianluo City. A handsome young cultivator was sitting in a corner near the window of the complete Shirkwan Inn. The young cultivator's appearance was truly outstanding. He exuded a calm and reserved aura, so much so that the gazes of many female cultivators in the inn unconsciously gathered on him. Chapter 2164. However, he didn't seem to feel anything. He continued drinking and looking out the window. Opposite the young cultivator sat a burly man. If one looked closely at his eyebrows and bones, he was actually only 25 or 26 years old. However, because he was covered in muscles, he looked like a middle-aged man at first glance. Ouyang you? The burly man looked at the handsome young man and hesitated. You, let's not wait here every day. The person you're waiting for won't come. Ouyang Qing turned to look at him, but didn't say anything. A pretty female cultivator walked up shyly and handed an exquisite tassel to Ouyang Qing. Senior brother Ouyang, I've liked you for a long time. It's okay if you don't like me, but can you please accept this love, not that I made myself? Ouyang Qing didn't even look at her and said coldly no. The merciless word made the female cultivator, who had finally mustered the courage to give the gift, blush. Tears of humiliation welled up in her eyes. The female cultivator's companion couldn't stand it anymore. Junior sister, I told you long ago that Ouyang Qing is a shameless homosexual. Why do you like such a disgusting man? Bang! Before Ouyang Qing could speak, the burly man sitting opposite him, Fan Ting, had already fiercely slapped the table and shouted, Who are you calling shameless? Who are you calling disgusting? Do you believe I won't tear your mouth apart? The male cultivator was shocked and took a few steps back. However, seeing his junior sister staring at Ouyang Qing in a daze, unspeakable anger and jealousy surged in his heart. He gritted his teeth and raised his voice, shouting, Did I say anything wrong? Starry School's pride, Ouyang Qing, is with a man. Who in the azure blue world doesn't know? This time, the attention of everyone in the inn was attracted by the male cultivator. Many strange gazes fell on Ouyang Qing. Whispers could be heard from time to time in the corners of the Whole Foods Inn. Many of them were obviously malicious. The male cultivator's expression involuntarily became somewhat smug, as well as an even deeper resentment. It's one thing for senior brother Ouyang to fall in love with a man, but in the end, that man was too outstanding and went to the purple cloud realm, never to return. Right now, not only does the entire azure blue world know that senior brother Ouyang likes men, they also know that you've been dumped by a man. Fan Ting was so angry that he was about to explode. A huge axe suddenly appeared in his hand, and his eyes looked as if they were about to spit fire. What did you say? I dare you to say it again. The powerful spiritual energy fluctuations caused quite a few people in the inn to cry out in alarm as they retreated. The abilities of the Starry School's Tianshu Institute students were not to be underestimated. Fear also appeared on the male cultivator's face, but he still tried to act tough and shouted, Ouyang Qing, say something. Did I say something wrong? Didn't you just get dumped by Ling Yuxing from Team Carefree? Ha! But isn't it normal for you to be dumped? Look at the status of Team Carefree now. They are geniuses that even the Golden Elixir Realm cultivators of the Purple Cloud Realm are trampled under their feet. How can you, Ouyang Qing, be worthy of them? In the past, in a lousy place like the Azure Blue world, I saw that I couldn't make a name for myself. So I came to seduce you, young Master Ouyang, to build a springboard for myself. Now that this springboard is useless, and he has soared to the sky, do you still expect him to come back and find you? Chapter 2165. The pretty female cultivator saw that Fan Ting's eyes had already condensed a substantial killing intent. She quickly pulled the male cultivator. Senior brother, don't say it. I won't allow you to humiliate senior brother Ouyang like this. Her eyes were still full of tears. She looked at Ouyang Qing and said firmly, Senior brother Ouyang, I, I know you still can't forget Ling Yuxing, but I heard that they have already entered the Soaring Dragon and will never come back to the Blue World again. No matter how long it takes Senior Brother Ouyang to forget that person, I am willing to wait for you. After saying this, the pretty female cultivator looked at Ouyang Qing with a bit of expectation in her tearful eyes. She thought that she would still get a cold and cruel response. But she didn't expect that the moment she raised her head, the cold face of the man in front of her suddenly seemed to melt like ice and snow and slowly bloomed into a brilliant smile. The female cultivator was stunned for a moment, and her heart was pounding. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but she heard an elegant and indifferent voice behind her. Why didn't I know that the carefree team would never return to the Blue World? Why didn't I know that I dumped Ouyang Qing? The female cultivator's delicate body shook, and she suddenly turned her head to look. All the people in the Whole Foods turned their heads in shock. Then, they saw a scene that they would never forget in their lives. They saw several young boys and girls coming in one after another. The leader was a handsome young man like a slender bamboo. He had androgynous facial features. Even if he dressed up as a beautiful woman, there would be no sense of femininity. But at this time, in the eyes of the people, there was no trace of femininity, only a heartwarming, leisurely rustling. He was the carefree team's flaming gale, Ling Yuxing. Behind Ling Yuxing was the leader of the carefree team, the eldest senior brother of the carefree school, One Sword Mountain Sea, Yin Ruhan. The gentle young man sitting in a wheelchair, Silver Bow Magic Arrow, Chu Moli, Shaking Mount Tai, Qinjiu pushing the wheelchair, Raging Flames Wild Saber, Lung Yuma in red, and Thousand Hands God, Lan Liu, who looked like a cute boy next door. And, at the end, there was a beautiful girl who walked slowly into the inn, but instantly attracted everyone's attention. Beautiful Killing God and She-Devil, June Mayan. The entire Whole Foods had fallen into a deathly silence. Everyone stared blankly at the 7 people who walked in. They didn't know if they were intimidated by the powerful aura of these people, or if they were scared silly. For a long, long time, no one made a sound. It was not until Ling Yuxing passed by the pretty female cultivator and her senior brother that the two suddenly came back to their senses. Ling Yuxing, aren't you staying in Dragon Ascension and not coming back? The female cultivator couldn't help but exclaim. Ling Yuxing ignored him and walked up to Ouyang Qing with a faint smile. Big brother Qing, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. There seemed to be flames dancing wildly in Ouyang Qing's eyes. He stared at the youth in front of him, wishing he could pull him into his arms and fiercely declare his sovereignty. These days, his ears were filled with people saying, the carefree squad won't come back. No matter how firm and confident he was, he couldn't help but waver. His Xiaosheng had grown so fast that she had gradually grown together with the carefree team to a point where he could no longer reach. Would such an outstanding Xiaosheng really belong to him? Would she still stay for him? Until this moment, when Ling Yuxing's handsome face appeared in front of him again, his heart was still full of confusion and uncertainty. Chapter 2166. There was even careful panic. It was as if he was afraid that all of this was just a dream. If he didn't fiercely touch it to confirm, he wouldn't be able to prove that the dream wouldn't shatter. But he couldn't. Right now, in front of everyone at the Complete Foods Inn, every member of the Carefree Squad was a hero praised by everyone in Azure Blue Realm, an idol worshipped by everyone. How could he taint Xiao Sheng's reputation because of his own selfishness? Just as this thought flashed through his mind, Ouyang Qing suddenly felt a hand wrap around his neck. He had no choice but to lower his head. Then, a familiar cool breath and soft, cool lips landed on his lips. It was as if a fluttering butterfly in his most beautiful dream had suddenly landed on the tip of his heart. The kiss was only a touch away. Under everyone's gazes, Ling Yuxing turned around and looked at the senior brother and sister. Is this enough to prove that I haven't dumped Brother Qing? If not, no, it's enough. It's enough. The pretty female cultivator's face was flushed red, and she waved her hands repeatedly. But strangely, Her face wasn't filled with jealousy or sadness, but rather with inexplicable excitement. It was as if she couldn't bear something and was about to faint. She'd just been completely heartbroken. Logically speaking, she should be sad and pained. But for some reason, when she saw the green bamboo-like youth kiss the lips of a handsome man, all the blood in her body seemed to be burning, and she almost let out a scream. Only then did Ling Yuxing let go of Ouyangqing. His gaze swept across everyone present. Since it's enough, then please remember, don't covet other people's belongings, especially mine. As soon as he loosened his grip, a pair of large hands grasped his hand tightly in the palm of his hand. Ling Yuxing blushed and was about to pull back. He heard Ouyangqing whisper in his ear, "Other people's belongings? My people?" Ling Yuxing's face was so red it looked like blood was about to drip out. He stammered, I didn't mean that. Brother Qing, I didn't think of you as..." Before he could finish, Ouyangqing had already pulled him into his arms. A hoarse voice filled with indescribable sorrow and joy rang in his ears, causing the bashful Ling Yuxing to instantly stop struggling. "Little Sheng, I'm so happy. I've never been so happy in my life. At this moment, I can finally believe that the nightmare I created for you has disappeared. We missed so many years, almost a lifetime. Now he could finally start anew." Fan Ting watched from the side as the two embraced each other, and a silly smile appeared on his face. He put away the giant axe in his hand. But just as he put away the giant axe, he heard the pretty female cultivator's senior martial brother say, in a voice that only the people next to him could hear, "Bah, to put it bluntly, isn't he gay? Men and men, how disgusting." "Little junior sister, let's go. Aren't you afraid that your eyes will rot from watching such a filthy scene?" The pretty female cultivator glared at him in disgust before turning around and walking away, ignoring him. Hearing this, Fan Ting immediately became angry. The giant axe once again appeared out of thin air, and he ruthlessly swung it towards the male cultivator. "Ah!" The male cultivator screamed in pain. Blood immediately gushed out of his left arm, and he screamed like a pig being slaughtered. "Murder! Starry School murder, help!" Chapter 2167. He hurriedly took out some pills and finally stopped the bleeding. He immediately shouted at Fan Ting, "How can you Starry School people be so overbearing? Junior sister and I were already preparing to leave, and you still wanted to kill me. Everyone, please be the judge. What I said just now was because I didn't know. Even if I was wrong, I'll just apologize to the Xiao Yao team. But they actually attacked me without even asking the right and wrong? Can Starry School do whatever they want just because they have the Xiao Yao team? Will there be no place for us cultivators in the Azure Blue world in the future?" These words caused everyone in the inn to look at each other in dismay, revealing expressions of bewilderment. Only the female cultivator, Fan Ting, and Ouyangqing heard what the male cultivator said just now. The male cultivator relied on the fact that others couldn't hear, so he unscrupulously distorted the truth and accused the victim first. Fan Ting was about to go crazy, but he was clumsy and didn't know how to argue. In an instant, his entire face turned red. "What? Did I hit the nail on the head?" The male cultivator became more and more unscrupulous. His eyes were full of hatred as he shouted, "Just because Starry School has the Xiao Yao team, you can harm innocent cultivators? Just because the Xiao Yao team is strong, you can do whatever you want? You did this." Smack! A foot stepped hard on the male cultivator's face, interrupting him. The male cultivator only felt a boom in his head. His skull felt like it was about to be broken. He was dizzy and his stomach churned, but he couldn't even make a sound. When he finally recovered, he realized that Qin Jio's foot was pressing on his head. He was the one who stepped on him just now. Lung Yuma and Luo Yu, on the other hand, each held a dagger that shone with a cold light and waved it around his body. They seemed to be trying to figure out where to start. As for Mu Yin and the others, they already had their loyal support. They ran over and carried chairs for them. The one who served the tea brought the tea. Even the innkeeper of the Whole Food and had recovered from his shock and was shouting from behind, I've heard that the great god June likes our shop's money-spinning silk the most. Hurry up and prepare it." As for the other guests in the inn, they did not stand on his side as the male cultivator had imagined. Instead, he went in front of Lung Yuma and Luo Yu. Dealing with this kind of trash will dirty the hands of the great gods. "Why don't we do it for you?" Seeing Lung Yuma and Luo Yu raise their heads, the few of them looked as though they were about to faint from excitement. We are diehard supporters of the Carefree Squad. No matter where the Carefree Squad is, we will support them unconditionally. We will never betray them. However, the unfettered Seven Devils. Cough, cough, cough. It's great that the unfettered Seven Devils can return to the azure blue world. Woo woo woo. The male cultivator couldn't believe what he was seeing and hearing. Ignoring the tumbling in his stomach and the dizziness in his head, he screamed, "What's wrong with you? Are you just going to watch the unfettered Seven Devils kill the innocent and do whatever they want?" But as he spoke, he was still scared. His voice trembled. June Muyin, you all commit outrages and are unreasonable. Aren't you afraid of losing your reputation? Even if what I said before was wrong, but that was everyone's guess. If you all feel unhappy, I will apologize to O Yanqing and Ling Yuxing. Muyin hooked her finger at him. Chapter 2168. Immediately, someone pulled the male cultivator in front of Muyin. As he got closer, the male cultivator realized that the girl in front of him was so beautiful. His favorite junior sister was probably not even 1/10,000th of this girl's beauty. The male cultivator suddenly grabbed her and asked her questions. It was because in the Carefree troop, she was the only girl who looked like a weak girl. As for Lung Yuma, the most arrogant and tough person in the entire Carefree troop, no one treated her as a woman anymore. Girls like her were usually soft-hearted and compassionate. Thinking of this, the male cultivator's eyes welled up with tears, as if he had been greatly wronged. It was that person who hurt me with the giant axe first. What did I do wrong that I have to be tortured and humiliated like this? You are the idols of all the cultivators in the azure blue world. Are you going to hurt innocent cultivators indiscriminately? At the side, Fan Ting's chest heaved up and down with anger. "It was you. You said it first." Mian raised her hand, gesturing for him to stop talking. Fan Ting could only retreat sullenly. Seeing this, the male cultivator was overjoyed and acted even more pitiful. Mu Yin takes a sip of tea and says unhurriedly, "You want to reason with us?" "Yes," the male cultivator said. "In this world, there will always be injustice, but you also said that we are the carefree seven demons." Mu Yin twirled the teacup in her hand. The smile on her face was lazy and beautiful, able to steal people's souls. "Since you were demons? Then what reason is there?" "I'm sorry, in this world, only what we are willing to talk about is reason." The male cultivator's eyes widened, the infatuation on his face turning into fear and anger. How can you do this? You are a girl. Shouldn't you be kind and merciful? How did you become so cruel and merciless? Have you been led astray by them?" Someone could not help but laugh. Where did this idiot come from? Has he not even heard of God, June's nickname? I think he just came from Green Flame City. He wanted to enter Starry School, but was eliminated, so he went to Lingwu. The male cultivator's eyes widened in fear as the surrounding voices rushed into his ears. "Idiot, haven't you heard who destroyed the fourth great aristocratic family of the Azure Blue Realm, the Tian family? Who killed the head of the Tian family, Tian Haiba? Do you know who was the most famous, the strongest, the most brutal, and the most intimidating in the entire Carefree team? Don't you know June Mo Xie's name? Female demon. Oh no, beautiful killing god. You actually had the guts to put on an act. You wept and pleaded with June Mo Xie. You even tried to reason with him. Ha! I have to say that I admire you for being such an idiot." The male cultivator stared blankly at the beautiful girl in front of him, only feeling his mind go blank, both his legs trembling. I'm already a student of the Spiritual Martial Arts College. You beat me up for no reason. Aren't you afraid that the tutors of the Spiritual Martial Arts College will find you in the Starry School for revenge? The smile on Mu Yan's face becomes brighter and brighter. Oh, really? In that case, he might as well kill him to silence him. At that time, the dead can't testify, and the Spiritual Martial Academy won't be able to do anything to us. The male cultivator's eyes widened in fear. Mu Yin continued, "After all, if I don't kill you, I won't be happy." Chapter 2169. In this world, there aren't many people who can insult the Xiaoyao school and still live in one piece. As soon as he finished speaking, an invisible pressure was suddenly released. The male cultivator felt like he had been thrown into an endless hell. In just a few breaths, he had experienced an endless nightmare. He breathed heavily, and his leg bones trembled. The smell of urine, accompanied by a yellow liquid, flowed out from between his legs. The crowd immediately dispersed in disgust. Some people even kicked the male cultivator more than 10 meters away. At this time, the pretty female cultivator finally mustered up her courage and walked to Mu Yin. No, it wasn't senior brother Ouyang's friend who hurt him on purpose. He secretly insulted senior brother Ouyang and Ling Yusheng, saying that they were gay and disgusting. That's why senior brother Ouyang's friend couldn't help but attack him. As soon as she said this, everyone looked at the male cultivator, who was twitching on the ground with even more disgust. Most of them were idiots who supported the Xiaoyao school. They did not believe that their idol would hurt someone indiscriminately. Now, they were even more determined to believe it. It was indeed this idiot who provoked him first. In an instant, everyone's anger surged. They kicked the male cultivator and rained punches and kicks on him mercilessly. Mu Yin waved her hand and said with a bored expression, "Let's go back to Starry School." This idiot did not even have the right to be drawn by them. Moreover, Mu Yan's pressure just now had already caused his will to completely collapse. Unless he could break through his inner demons, he would not be able to improve in the future. It was just a dream for such a person to gather his strong will to break through his inner demons. The entire Tianluo city was stirred up because of the appearance of Mu Yan's group. With Shirkuan in as the center, the news of the Xiaorao school's return spread like the wind. However, the news had not reached Starry School yet. At the moment, the atmosphere in Starry School was rather bleak. They were surrounded by enemies. The veins on Meng Baichuan's forehead kept twitching. He glared at the middle-aged man in front of him and said, "Li Wenyuan, don't go too far. The three great academies have always minded their own business. Now, you've joined forces with several major sects and aristocratic families to besiege Constellation. What exactly do you mean?" Li Wenyuan, the dean of the Spiritual Martial Arts Academy, smirked. Greed flashed across his long and narrow eyes. "Dean Ming, we don't want to be so rude. You can only blame Headmaster Ming and the Starry School for being too greedy. The things won in the Deer Cry banquet were precious treasures for the progress of middle and low-level cultivators. As long as you're willing to share some, our three academies will be able to rise to a higher level." But who would have thought that you would be so selfish and refuse to share even the slightest bit? Didn't this incite public anger? I don't want to shed all pretense of cordiality, but for the development of Lingwu students, I have no choice but to do this. Bah! Don't you have any shame? The Golden Core mentor of the Starry School, Qi Ming, blushed and scolded. If you really just wanted to share these cultivation manuals, why didn't you wait for me to finish comprehending them and make copies before borrowing them? Now that you've come so openly, it's obvious that you want to swallow Constellation's things. Li Wenyuan laughed. These cultivation manuals and advancement pills are the treasures of the entire Azure Blue world. How can you say that they belong to Constellation? Chapter 2170. Old Ming, it's not that I want to say this, but your teachers and students are too narrow-minded. That's right. Sect Master Zheng of a second-rate sect chuckled and said, "Our Azure Blue realm is one. As long as everyone is strong, then we will truly be strong. Chief Ming, you have good stuff. Why hide it? Let's split it up and become stronger together. Then, we can help each other. Isn't that a good thing?" The elders of the Spiritual Martial Arts College, the other clan leaders, and the clan leaders all agreed. The Starry School teachers and students were disgusted by their, for the sake of the world, expressions. These cultivation manuals were earned by the Starry Carefree team. What does it have to do with your clans or the Spiritual Martial Arts College? You want to sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labor just because you say we'll become stronger together? What right do you have to steal the cultivation resources that the Carefree team earned for us? How shameless are you? Some Starry School students could no longer hold it in and started shouting. In reality, they were disappointed that the Carefree team stayed in Long Tongue and did not return. But more than that, they were grateful, because everyone knew how rich the rewards of this dear, cry grand banquet were. To the people of Starry School, these rewards were life-saving resources. With these manuals and pills, at least half of the Starry School could break through from the grain fasting realm to the golden core realm. A whole half. Muyan's barrier-breaking talisman and barrier-breaking pill were actually prepared for the cultivation geniuses. They had encountered a real bottleneck. Once they broke through, they would be able to travel 1,000 miles. There were many differences in the Azure Blue world. Many cultivators were born with impure spirit roots. Even if they used spirit cleansing pills, they could not improve much. Even if they had reached the peak of grain fasting, they had also reached the end and could no longer break through. And the advancement pills that Long Tongue had given him could assist these people in their breakthroughs. Golden core cultivators who broke through like this could only be described as weak. In the Purple Cloud realm, it was usually the clans and clans that allowed their untalented descendants to cultivate. But even a weak golden core was still a golden core realm. This was the lifelong dream of many cultivators in the Azure Blue world. Not to mention, those cultivation manuals were meant for those elites with talent. Some of them could help people quickly break through from the golden core stage to the nascent soul stage, and even the early stage of the nascent soul stage. One could imagine that with these cultivation resources, Starry School would be able to rise rapidly in a short period of time. He would become the undisputed leader of the entire Azure Blue world. At that time, both Feng Tian and the Spiritual Martial Academy would be left in the dust. Li Wenyuan also knew this, which was why he teamed up with a few equally greedy clans to surround the Starry School and rob it. He would definitely not watch as the Starry School grew stronger. If he wanted to strengthen it, it should be the spirit martial arts that he, Li Wenyuan, controlled. You're saying that the Carefree Squad earned the cultivation resources for you? Li Wenyuan scoffed. But now, everyone knows that the Carefree team has already entered the Dragon Soaring sect and is staying in the Purple Cloud realm, never to return. Who can prove that Carefree team belongs to Constellation? Since the Carefree Squad wasn't from Constellation, these cultivation resources naturally didn't belong to Constellation either. Don't you think so? Yes. How can a small constellation afford to raise the geniuses of the Carefree team? Chapter 2171. The Carefree team doesn't belong to Starry School, so the cultivation resources naturally don't belong to Starry School. College Chief Ming, I think you should stop being so stubborn. Just take out the things and share them with everyone. If Starry School is in trouble in the future, the Wu clan won't just stand by and watch. Haha, the Zhang clan too. How can the Starry School be so petty? Meng Baichuan was so angry that his organs were trembling violently. Kai Shouzhong had already come out of seclusion. Even though he had already experienced a great disaster, his face was flushed with anger and his eyebrows and beard were trembling. What if we don't hand over the cultivation resources? He asked coldly. Li Wenyuan chuckled. I just said that these cultivation resources can strengthen the entire Azure Blue world. They don't belong to Starry School alone. Since they're important resources, they should belong to those who are capable. He pointed at the suzerains of the sects and aristocratic families beside him, and then pointed at the elders behind him. Principal Meng is narrow-minded and stubbornly refuses to share cultivation resources. Then, we can only challenge the students of Constellation's instructors. If Starry School wins, the resources will naturally belong to Starry School. If Starry School loses, then please hand over the things obediently. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Meng Baichuan and Kai Shouzhong looked at the people beside Li Wenyuan, their hearts sinking bit by bit and becoming cold. This time, Li Wenyuan had clearly come prepared. There were a total of 9 families that he had invited. Most of the clan leaders were at the peak of the Golden Core realm. But there was also a middle-aged man with the surname Zheng. He was the clan leader of the Tiger's Howl clan and was in the first level of the nascent soul realm. On the spiritual martial arts school side, Li Wenyuan himself was a nascent soul cultivator and much higher than Meng Baichuan. Behind him, there were 2 elders of the spiritual martial arts school who had both reached the nascent soul realm. One of them was even at the same level as Kai Shouzhong. Looking at the Starry School's side, because of Du Dao, the Starry School was in a difficult situation. Ning Yaoguang and Su Iluan had gone to the Woodfern Sea and had yet to return. In the entire Starry School, there were only 2 nascent soul cultivators and 3 at the peak of the Golden Core realm. How could such a lineup contend against these greedy, blood-sucking worms? In fact, if they completely fell out with each other, they might not just take away the resources won by the Carefree team and the 100-year foundation of the Starry School. Li Wenyuan looked at Meng Baichuan and Kai Shouzhong's expressions, and a pleased look flashed in his eyes. Dean Ming, have you thought it through? If he handed over the item now, it was still not too late to share it. When we really start fighting in a while, blades and swords have no eyes, and the situation will not be easily controlled. Meng Baichuan's eyes were ashen. He was filled with indignation, but in the end, he had no choice but to compromise. He let out a long sigh, lowered his eyes, and said hoarsely, "All right, I agree." Before he could finish his words, a loud and clear voice sounded in his ears. Isn't this Dean Li of the Spiritual and Martial Arts Academy? Did they know that we were coming back today, so they came over to welcome us? Looking at the lineup of Dean Li and the various clan leaders, it seems that they not only want to welcome us, but also want to spar with us. Just right. During this period of time, I've either been recuperating or rushing on the road. My broadsword is getting thirsty. Come, let's have a good fight. The entire place was dead silent. Chapter 2172. Then, they watched dumbfounded as the people they were familiar with, the people they had been waiting for, slowly landed in front of them. After an indescribable silence, there was a roar like a volcano eruption. Carefree team is back. God Jun, you're back. All 7 of you are back. Not one is missing. Sob. I really thought Carefree team would never come back. Those godlike people don't belong to Starry School anymore. The Starry School tutors were better off. Only their eyes were red. The students, on the other hand, burst into tears. Their relationship with Carefree team was incomparable to others. When Starry School was still mediocre, it was Carefree team who led them to rise, making their name known throughout the entire Azure Blue world. When the people from the Tian family wanted to rob Carefree team, it was the teachers and students from Constellation who did not care about their own safety or their own weakness. They stepped forward bravely and stood in front of them without hesitation. When everyone in the Purple Cloud world looked down on the Azure Blue world cultivators, it was Carefree team who slapped everyone at the Deer Cry banquet. Now, the eagle that had grown up among them had spread its wings and flown high. They had thought that the eagle that had flown far away would never return. Unexpectedly, at Starry School's most dangerous moment, they had appeared again. The 7 stopped in front of Meng Baichuan and bowed. Greetings, College Chief Meng. Carefree team did not disappoint and returned to Starry School. Meng Baichuan's eyes reddened and tears filled his eyes instantly. He opened his mouth for a long time, but could not say a word. After a while, He choked out, "Good, good, you're all good children, Starry School. Starry School is proud of you." Before he finished, tears rolled down uncontrollably. Meng Baichuan hurriedly turned and wiped them away, as if afraid of being discovered. Kai Shouzhong also stroked his beard and nodded, wiping his eyes from time to time as if he was not crying. On the other hand, Li Wenyuan and the others, who had been proud and arrogant just a moment ago, now looked like they had seen a ghost. Carefree team, the 7 of them had really returned. But how was this possible? With Starry School's strength and resources, the 7 of them were no longer of any use. They wouldn't be able to gain anything by staying here. It wasn't that there weren't any cultivators who had left the Azure Blue realm in the past, but which one of them had managed to make it to the Purple Cloud realm and come back? Even if he came back, he would just come back in glory and come back to show off before leaving. Only a fool would choose Constellation over Soaring Dragon, right? Li Wenyuan composed himself and said, "Miss June, everyone, I really didn't expect that you would grace my tiny Azure Blue world with your presence. It's our honor to be able to meet the elites of Long Tongue." Li Wenyuan did not believe that the members of the Carefree team would really abandon Dragon Ascension and return to Constellation, a small place where even birds wouldn't shit. Mu Yin and the others turned around and looked at him with a smile that wasn't a smile. "Dean Li, don't talk nonsense. Didn't you just say that you want to compare notes with Xingqian? The resources belong to whoever wins. Now, the 7 of us will represent Constellation. Either all of you come at me together, or you can pick your own opponents." These words not only ignored Li Wenyuan's provocation just now. Furthermore, he completely disregarded nascent soul cultivators and peak golden core cultivators like them. Chapter 2173. Everyone's faces turned green and white, looking a little ugly. If one were to ask who had the highest reputation in the Azure Blue world, it would definitely be the Xiaoyao 7. But no matter how high their reputation was, they were just a few kids, and none of them had broken through to the nascent soul stage. A few golden core kids dared to be so arrogant in front of more than a dozen nascent soul and peak golden core cultivators. Did they really think that they could do whatever they wanted just because they had a high reputation and the title of a young genius? Had Li Wenyuan not heard of the Tian clan being destroyed? Of course he had, but he didn't believe that this could be done by just the 7 members of the Carefree Squad. At that time, the Xiaoyao team was only in the Anidia realm. Who would believe that they could kill Tian Haiba, who was in the nascent soul stage? Someone must have helped them, but as the rumors spread, it eventually became the Xiaoyao team's achievement. Li Wenyuan's face darkened. "Miss June, we came with good intentions. Our goal is to strengthen the entire Azure Blue world and help each other. Do you really want to fall out with us?" Luo Yu burst out laughing. "Strengthen the entire Azure Blue world? You might as well say you want to save the cultivation continent. If you want to share resources so badly, share your spiritual martial arts college and the Dragon Tiger Sect's top secret books and rare pills." These words made Li Wenyuan and the others' faces turn even uglier. They shut their mouths and no longer said anything about strengthening the entire Azure Blue world. Their sanctimonious face made the Starry School people want to puke. Lung Yuma pulled out her long sword and snickered. "Xiao Qi, why are you wasting words with these losers? Hurry up. I've been traveling for a few days and haven't had a good rest. Finish this quickly and get out of Starry School." Li Wenyuan was so angry that his face couldn't stop trembling. Ever since he became the spiritual martial arts college chief, he had never been humiliated like this. The calculation in his eyes had already turned into thick, murderous intent. All right. Everyone, the juniors nowadays are arrogant just because they have some achievements. They've even thrown respect for their teachers to the back of their minds. Looks like Xingqian doesn't know how to teach at all, and that's why he's raised such ignorant scum. Li Wenyuan loudly said to the heads of the clans and sects, "Today, let's join forces and teach them a good lesson." We'll also let Xing Chen know that it's a waste to leave those resources with them. The sect masters and family heads looked at each other. Some of them looked hesitant, but thinking of the rewards of the Deer Cry banquet, greed overshadowed fear and uneasiness. Principal Li was right. It was just 7 brats. They had so many people and 4 original infant stage cultivators. How could they be afraid of them? Thus, they agreed loudly. When Meng Baichuan saw that these people actually wanted to attack Mu Yan's group of 7 shamelessly, he was instantly enraged. Fine, since you want to fight, Starry School's dean, Meng Baichuan, will fight. Before he could finish speaking, he was stopped by Mu Yan. Principal Meng, how can you use a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? Why don't you just watch the battle while drinking tea? After saying that, he pointed to a few students beside him. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and prepare some fruits and refreshments. How can the dean and mentors not have some entertainment while watching the battle? These students were stunned at first, then they laughed and dispersed. Not long after, they got a pile of snacks. This kind of operation that completely disregarded people made Li Wenyuan and the others angry to death. However, the facts prove that the fruits and refreshments were completely prepared for nothing. Chapter 2174. This was because this battle of 7 against a dozen had only lasted for 15 minutes. Before Meng Baichuan could finish his cup of tea, Li Wenyuan had already been hammered into the mud by Mayan. When he pulled his hair up, his face was covered in blood. He had lost a few teeth, and a few patches of his hair had been pulled off. Seeing how the Lingwu Dean, who had always been awe-inspiring, was reduced to such a miserable state that was worse than a mangy dog, even the Starry School students who had just been applauding could not help but shudder. Brutal, too brutal. The other patriarchs weren't any better either. Not only were they hung up and beaten, but they were also tortured until they lost all their dignity. The Starry School people could not bear to hear the screams that sounded like pigs being slaughtered. Damn it. Just 15 minutes ago, Starry School was clearly bullied. Now, why did the Starry School students seem more like bullies who bullied the kind? They even sympathized with these high and mighty college chiefs and clan leaders. Who could they offend? Why did they have to offend the unfettered 7 demons? In the huge Tai Square, the 7 members of the unfettered team sat on the armchairs like bosses. Behind them stood a dense crowd of Starry School students. Occasionally, someone would go up to them to massage their shoulders, massage their backs, and pass them fruits and tea. In the meantime, the students behind them would even fight over whose turn it was to do these things. Not far away, in the center of Tai Square, more than a dozen people were hung upside down. They were the college chief, elders, clan leaders of a few clans, and the leaders of second-rate sections. These people were all stripped down to their underwear. Their hair was also shaved until they were bald. Their faces were bruised, and their eyes were swollen. Their pitiful appearance could not help but make people shed tears of sympathy. They had already been exposed to the sun for 4 hours. At this moment, because they were hanging upside down, sweat continuously gathered on their foreheads like raindrops and flowed onto the stone floor. Kill me, Jun Mayan, the unfettered 7 demons Meng Baichuan. If you have the ability, then kill me, kill me. Li Wenyuan's voice was already hoarse, but he was still yelling. Mu Yin put down the teacup and shook her head as she clicked her tongue and said, Dean Li, you've already howled for 4 hours and you're still not tired? Ha! Don't worry, the Starry School is the most friendly and hospitable school. Why will we kill people so easily? Don't you think so? Yes. Nearly 10,000 students responded in a world-shaking voice. The few people who were hung upside down wished they could just pass out. Go to hell with the friendliest hospitality. Don't you feel any pain in your conscience after saying such words, she-devil? Wouldn't it hurt? Mayan's smile becomes even more languid and enchanting. Therefore, not only will we not kill you, but in a moment my 3rd senior brother, a well-known painter of Azure Blue World, will use you all as a reference to paint a few peerless and lifelike paintings. Hearing this, the dozen or so people who were hung upside down all froze. Even the sweat that was flowing down like a stream seemed to have frozen because of fear. Even the most arrogant of them all, Li Wenyuan, was now pale with fright. Mu Yin continued, "Why do you all look so unhappy? Oh, I know. You must be afraid that your figures are not as graceful and charming as those of the Tian clan. Afraid that they won't be as popular as the Tian clan? That's true. If the sales of the dignified Lingwu College Dean's portraits are not as good as the outdated Tian clan leaders, where will Dean Li put his face?" You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.